In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
They claim Republicans are just better at politics.
False.
Quote, at times it seems Democrats are trying to win arguments while Republicans are focused on winning elections.
I don't need to fight.
Democrats operate in an ecosystem defined by reason, even in cycles when the electorate is defined by rage.
I am beyond angry.
What should Democrats do with that?
Try harder not to suck.
They should be more comfortable with the idea of power.
What?
Whether or not a trans kid can get the services they need, that is a kitchen table issue for families.
That's incorrect.
You are fake news.
Round them all up.
That's not called for.
Very fake news.
These people are sick pedophile groomers.
You talk like a fag, and your shit's all retarded.
The R word. This is shameful.
Fed.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now. Skag free, whoever he is.
Duct tape all over the place. It's a disgrace.
In 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, May 24th, 2026. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight in his usual Sunday seat is highly regarded author Matt Palumbo. Welcome back.
Saddle up, partner.
Good to be back.
And of course, on this Memorial Day weekend, we extend our respects and gratitude to all who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to this country and to their families. God bless you. As for the show tonight, great guests. It's going to be a Fed club, Matt included. Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton are with the organization Feds for Freedom. And this organization, they operate with Jim Erdman, who is the CIA whistleblower who told Rand Paul and the Senate Homeland Security Committee the week before last that Dr. Fauci intentionally interfered with, meddled with the intel community assessments about COVID origins and the leading theory that it, of course, was from the Wuhan lab. So we'll talk about all that whistleblower testimony and the organization in general, Feds for Freedom, and their work for accountability within the federal government. We'll play that segment in the second half of the show. Before that, in the news for discussion tonight, Trump yet again says we are on the cusp of an Iran peace deal. You buy this one? You believe? Is it coming?
We've covered this story every week for 3 months now. So no, I believe nothing. This is all screwed.
Well, we'll see. Supposedly, there are terms that are leaking out. Trump has disclosed nothing, but we're right on the cusp of a deal in which I guess the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open and Iran is going to stop all their nuclear everything. We'll check in with that. I hope so, because I paid $65 to fill up my car yesterday. So please, for the love of God,
$4.50 near me.
Yeah,
not good.
So there was a shooting outside the White House yesterday as well. Supposedly just a crazy guy with a history of Secret Service encounters. Of course, the meme reporter we'll get into. The couple different reporter reactions. One was completely sensible. The other little questionable, but she has an explanation for why she reacted the way that she did. Tulsi Gabbard resigns as Director of National Intelligence effective end of June, citing her husband's health. Matt's going to take us through the newly released 2024 DNC Autopsy
disaster.
Report. Just when you thought they couldn't get any more retarded, you read through.
They're very retarded.
I'm nervous about the midterms, of course. However, when you look at a party that is incapable of sensible introspection, they have introspection in there, but it's wrong. You know, it's like they're not even so prideful that they can't kind of think critically about themselves, but the points on which they think critically are wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the story, but all the reasons they lost, they missed. And then all the things they think that are in their favor are not in their favor. So it's and you know, not to spoil it, but they didn't proofread it at all. There's no citation. The whole report is a disaster, and we'll go through that.
They're like the Principal Skinner meme. Is it possible that people don't like trans surgeries for kids and abortions all that much? No, they love them. More transing the kids and more abortions. We'll get to that. Plus, a federal judge dismisses the human trafficking case against legendary illegal immigrant who's still here for some reason, Kilmar Abrego-Garcia. He just won't go away. We have Hoax Hate to close as well. Before we get into it, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing. Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing makes high-quality, handmade premium hardwood cutting boards, charcuterie boards, serving trays, and more, all of which are great gift options or the perfect piece to class up your kitchen or anywhere else in your home. Blake at Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing made me a cutting board engraved with my very own channel logo, and it looks amazing. It's been a part of our family kitchen for a long time now. It has not aged a bit. And in addition to the quality, that's the best part about Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing's products. They are fully customizable, not just in materials, but in engravings too. So if you'd like to personalize a gift like that one, that can be arranged. Or if you have any other custom hardwood project in mind, no matter how big or how small, Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing can make that a reality for you. Just get in touch at kineowood.com. All Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing products are made in Colorado from premium domestic hardwood sources. Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing is the absolute highest quality woodworking that will last you forever. The listeners of this show get 10% off all Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing products and services using promo code MATT10 at checkout. That's promo code MATT10 for 10% off everything at kineowood.com, KINEOWOOD.com, promo code MATT10 at checkout. Find all the information on all our special offers at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. All right, as you may be able to tell, I am diseased. Hopefully my voice holds on, but the entire house is sick. All the kids, my wife. I'm the last one to get it, so we'll see if I make it through tonight. But if the voice fails, that would be why. I have another correction to issue for myself, Matt.
You are fake news. Very fake news.
On Wednesday, in passing, I said that the owner of the famed Learing Center in Minneapolis has been charged with fraud.
That's incorrect.
I read a headline wrong. In fact, I was referring to this woman, Fahima Mahmoud. I haven't seen. Is that is that just Muhammad another spelling, or is it Mahmoud? Different guy. I don't know. Anyway, Fahima Mahmoud was she's already tied to the $250 million Feeding Our Future lunch for kids Somali fraud. She is now she now has charges with fraud related to her daycare, which is not the Learing Center. She does not operate the Learing Center, at least not that Learing Center. She operates the Future Leaders Early Learning Center, and my sources say that they do in fact have an N in learning in that business title. So very similar situation, not exactly what I claimed on Wednesday. I regret the error. But speaking of the Feeding Our Future fraud in Minneapolis, you see the ringleader of that operation, Aimee Bock.
Yeah, they started with the white woman, so it's socially acceptable to prosecute fraud.
Wait a minute. Why did I get a text saying Palumbo is muted? You're not muted.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me check the other chat. Hold on. Just to make sure.
What are you talking about? Palumbo is muted. I see his mic lighting up and I can hear him.
I'm reading the chat. I don't see anyone saying they can't hear me.
This is speaking of fake news.
You are fake news. Very.
Did you see?
We're going to carry on unless I hear otherwise.
Did you see Sarah Gonzalez from The Blaze interviewed some random crazy Muslim woman recently? And it turned out that she also had a learning center that was misspelled Learing Center. So there's actually two quality learning centers in this country, both by Muslims.
Oh, yeah, the second one emerged. Was it actually quality, or was it just a different Learing Center?
It was just a different Learing. This one was, I guess, the lack of quality Learing Center. The
quality unexplained. We don't know.
Quality
but
unknown.
It was for Learing. Okay. Well, now my source says that you're fine, so I believe that was a fake report.
Palumbo is highly regardedly audible. Palumbo's voice is just lovely. Love this guy. All right. Very good. Very good.
All right. Yeah, they
good
highly
reviews.
Regarded indeed, just as I suspected. All right. So Aimee Bock was the ringleader of this massive $250 million+ fraud, Feeding Our Future fraud in Minneapolis. She is now sentenced. So the trial involves some 80 people, or the whole case involves like 80 different defendants. Some are already convicted. Some have trial forthcoming. There may be future forthcoming charges as well. But the ringleader, Aimee Bock, now sentenced this week to 41.5 years in prison, plus $243 million in restitution. Not sure that's ever getting paid, but that is the court's judgment. Sources say she cried in the federal courtroom on Thursday.
Bock had a chance to address the court, sobbing and saying, "I'm sorry," multiple times. "I understand I failed. I failed the public, my family, everyone," she said. "I believed in the work I was doing. I made mistakes, so many mistakes."
Good. So, as I mentioned, this case is ongoing. This is not the end of the Feeding Our Future scam. But apparently that is a very, in terms of federal sentencing in fraud cases, that's a very lengthy sentence, some 42 years. Also, one of the biggest frauds ever perpetrated against this country. So seems fitting. I would say that's actually kind as a matter of justice for this lady.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely beyond what precedent is. But to me, that's just more evidence that we've been under sentencing for these sorts of crimes. I mean, when you see someone steal many millions of dollars and get a couple of years in jail, it's like, I mean, I do a year in jail for like 10 million, probably less, like there's going to be a very large percentage of the population that sees the risk reward equation and determines it's for them. So 40 years, I don't think anyone's going to want to risk that. We'll see how it plays out though with the rest. There was one notable case, and I think this was separate from the Nick Shirley stuff, but where one of these Somali scammers got sentenced, jury found him guilty, and then the judge just decided to overturn it without any explanation. So let's hope they actually
that rings a bell. There was some judge in Minneapolis. I think it was a state case, not a federal case, if I remember. That I can't remember all the details on that, but I remember a grinning female judge's face associated with that decision. Update on the Muhammad versus Mahmoud producer Tim. He's always working so hard to give us the details that are important. Let's see what he says about. So we get this name issue correct. I would think
it's a different name because Muhammad, if it's a historical figure, why would you change the name? I don't know.
That's incorrect.
It's actually the same guy.
Really?
According to Tim, Mahmoud is a variation of Muhammad. Both originated from Arabic.
The more you know.
But just because they originated from Arabic doesn't mean it refers to like the same guy. So you might have a point on Mahmoud might be a different guy.
I'll take the L.
I don't know. The L. I wouldn't say it's an L. We'll move on to important matters, which is another topic from Wednesday. We didn't have all the details, but speaking of producer Tim's hard work, he fed us this information right before live. Looked like yet another fatal Indian big rig crash in California, this time in Lodi. This is in the Central Valley, somewhere near Sacramento. Happened earlier in the day on Wednesday, didn't have all the details during the Wednesday show. Now we do have those details. Manvir Singh is an illegal immigrant with a California commercial driver license, now charged with vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence and hit and run. Good. Get this, you know why hit and run?
Go on.
He tried to Uber away from the crash. Here's the story.
It was going to be obvious.
Yeah, here's the story.
Prosecutors describing this crash as almost a 20-ton missile moving down Highway 99. They deemed this a case of gross negligence and deemed Singh a flight risk for his attempt to flee the scene following the crash in an Uber. And in court today, Manvir Singh making his first appearance pleading not guilty into Tuesday's crash. Investigators say the impact killed a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old male while leaving several others hurt. Prosecutors also claiming Singh had only been working for the trucking company for about a week before the crash. The judge raising his bail to $400,000, ordering Singh, if he does post bail, to surrender his passport and wear a GPS device if released. But outside court, Singh's attorney pushing back against claims of gross negligence, calling the deadly crash a tragic accident.
This was an unfortunate accident. I mean, that's all there is to it. It was an unfortunate accident. There's no allegation of my client being under the influence, doing anything other than being unable to stop his vehicle in time. And that anybody who's driven that section knows how much that traffic backs up there. And, if you're not familiar with it, you don't drive it every day, you don't know to look out for it.
And Singh's defense attorney is sharing that his client does have a valid California CDL license. DHS also made a statement saying that Singh had entered into the U.S. illegally through Arizona back in 2023, where ICE issued a detainer request for this case.
Well, listen, it's not his fault he doesn't know how to drive.
Oh my God, we need to deport. I think 100 million is the number I'm at right now.
Even
if he didn't cause this crash, it would still be on the list.
If you deported every other semi-truck driving down the interstate, odds are you probably are right. I don't know what percent of the time.
Many.
How about just every Singh? Okay, look, I'm sorry to the good Singhs out there. All the Singhs have to be removed from the roadway. Okay, it's a matter of national security. And it's like you joke tongue in cheek, but it's not a joke, man. You heard in there again. And not that any loss of life is acceptable, but two young men, 16 and 20, lives robbed. Because why? Because Joe Biden opened the border and didn't see fit to police it. And you have the state of California issuing licenses to people who can't speak English, and defense attorneys in California saying, well, come on, it's not really his fault that he doesn't know how to drive safely. Will somebody please take accountability here? No, of course not. It's California, and it's in the context of immigration, so it is what it is.
Even if it were the case, and this is obviously not true, it's hypothetical, but that illegal alien drivers were, let's just say, better drivers than the average American. They're causing less accidents per capita.
I'm sure that claim is out there.
I'm sure Cato is going to have some bullshit study.
It's already there.
Yeah. But even if that's the case, it's still a net increase in American deaths that otherwise would not happen if they were not here. So it's irrelevant. And the thing is, like, driving ability actually does correlate with intelligence, things like reaction time and all that. And a lot of these people are third world retards, so of course they're going to be committing these at a much higher rate. And the whole thing of him actually having a valid CDL, I would be so like, I don't know. I doubt it was the same standards they give everyone.
Speaking of third world retards,
go on.
We have another Muslim country to bomb. Okay, in Bangladesh, there's a 1,500-pound albino bull named Donald Trump.
I see it.
He's gained viral attention for his resemblance to his namesake. The bull's owner says he named him Donald Trump, the bull, because, of course, the bull has some extraordinary blonde hair. Here's the bull's owner combing that legendary blonde mane, just like the real Donald Trump. Now, why do I say we have another Muslim country to bomb? Because according to the bull's owner, he is now set to sacrifice Donald Trump the bull, along with 12 million other livestock in that country during the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha. So they're going to slaughter Donald Trump, the albino bull with the luxurious blonde hair. The owner is quoted here in the reporting. Sorry, we'll get through the rest of the footage here. All right. I'm going to miss Donald Trump, but that is the core spirit of Eid al-Adha, making a sacrifice, this according to the owner of the bull.
Boo.
So
well, at least he feels bad, though, so you can't, hate him.
Well, whatever bombers we had headed to Tehran, in case they didn't agree to whatever negotiations are going on, send them over to Bangladesh. But use the precision airstrikes because we want to take out the people who are threatening Donald Trump the bull. We don't want to take out the bull himself. Anyway.
It'll be the only successful Trump assassination attempt. Dude, there's been 3 in the past month. Like, you cannot... Poor guy.
We'll see if we could avoid that sort of fate for Donald Trump the bull. That would be unfortunate. God, there's so much serious news going on, and my entire list of topics for the start of the show is complete bullshit. But I have to talk about it. All right,
it's a shadow, guys.
Many questions about what appears to be a guest wearing a mask on Fox News. This is retired Navy Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a regular Fox News guest. But was that really him? Was that a masked actor playing him? Or was he wearing a mask himself for some reason? Sure looks like there's a loose end of a mask hanging off of his neck.
They've reconfigured a number of things, I am certain. What do you think the next best move is today?
Well, I agree with the general completely, with one caveat. Patience may be a little short of the real objective here. The president has time on his hands. He controls the narrative, he controls the strike capabilities, and he knows that the policy he set with the blockade has had short-term and long-term effects on the regime and the people of Iran.
We're not paid actors. It really happened.
So as you mentioned, I've seen this sort of effect before where you wear a collared shirt and depending on how the light hits, it can create a weird shadow on your neck. That is what Fox is claiming, according to a statement from Fox on Friday. I'll be quick and then chime in. Quote, he is admirable as well. Vice Admiral Robert Harward appeared on Fox News Channel earlier this week via a remote mobile camera operated by an outside vendor. During the interview, lighting conditions in the van contrasted with the Vice Admiral's jacket, which caused a shadow to appear on his neck.
I doubt it.
You buy it?
Well, when they zoomed in, if you looked at the shadow that was clearly a shadow, it does blend into the neck part where people thought it was a mask almost like pretty much perfectly. So yeah, I buy the shadow excuse. I mean, the question is, if it is a mask, why? Because this is a Fox News regular. He's been on many times without the quote unquote mask. So is he wearing a mask of himself as himself, or is someone else playing him and somehow mastered his voice? Like, what? I don't know what the theory is supposed to be.
The voice is the variable I can't explain, even though I do think this is incredibly weird in appearance.
It is very weird. It looks like a mask. I just don't think it is.
The only thing that would make sense is if someone else was playing him, but you're right that the voice is his, at least as far as I can tell. So did they go through the trouble of having an actor put on a mask of him and some kind of generated voice just for the sake of a generic Fox News segment? It seems like a lot of work.
Maybe it was some like Nathan Fielder-esque thing where to get a viral clip to draw attention to their network, they had a guy wear a mask of himself. That would make sense. But no, I don't think it actually is.
Well, I've seen some photos too that show the retired Vice Admiral. He looks more wrinkly in general. Like, did he just want to clean? Did he want smoother skin, and that's why he wore a mask?
I will say, and yes, I know what you're referring to. His neck did look more wrinkly in other videos I've seen of him, but I guess that is one in favor of the mask theory. But
it was all vanity.
He's really insecure about his neck wrinkles.
Yeah. All right, into the serious stuff. Big updates in Iran world, supposedly.
Is the gas so hot, bitch?
Yesterday afternoon, Trump said he's been working with various Middle Eastern representatives on a, quote, memorandum of understanding for a peace deal with Iran. Trump said the agreement has been largely negotiated. Again, this as of 15, 16 hours ago, something like that. Subject to finalization between the United States and Iran. Final details currently in discussion, apparently. Terms to be announced shortly, I guess, is the plan. But Trump did say that the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Now, since that post, there have been a few different reports emerging citing anonymous sources with knowledge. So take it all with whatever skepticism you think is due for that sort of reporting. But the New York Times is citing two officials saying that Iran agreed verbally to surrender its stockpile of enriched uranium. Unclear how the material would be removed from would Iran just give it to us? Would we have to go take it? We don't know. As for why Iran would agree to that concession when they've refused so far, this report says it's because of the American threat to resume bombing. So even though Trump has done 20 different threats to resume bombing, this latest one was the one they took most seriously for some reason.
That's good.
I guess 20th time's the charm. They finally bit. Separately, excuse me, Axios is reporting, again citing an anonymous source with knowledge, that the U.S. and Iran are ready to sign this memorandum of understanding that would remain in place for 60 days. So this, to me, this report just makes it sound like it's an extension of a ceasefire, but with maybe some added terms, because it's not a peace deal into the future. It's a 2-month time period to discuss further with some additional commitments. So those commitments would be Iran will give up its pursuit of nuclear weapons. I don't know if that means forever or just for those 60 days. They agree to negotiate an end to their nuclear enrichment program. So agreeing to negotiate, that's highly qualified. They also agree, as the New York Times report said, to surrender their enriched uranium stockpile. In exchange, the U.S. would agree to negotiate lifting economic sanctions and release frozen Iranian funds. So again, the agreement is we have agreed to negotiate. Okay. I mean, that's again, kind of an extension of status quo. But this report does say during the 60-day negotiation period and ceasefire, the Strait of Hormuz would be open and the U.S. would lift its naval blockade on Iranian ports. That would be traffic moving beyond its current status, economic activity beyond its current status. So that would be meaningful. Iran says it will clear mines from the strait. I still think the mines are a hoax. I don't think that even exists. But okay, remove your fake mines. Remove your cardboard mines. We appreciate it. Lastly, this agreement, as reported by Axios, includes a commitment to end the conflict in Lebanon, as in Israel versus Hezbollah, but it remains unclear if Israel has agreed to such a thing. And of course, it really only matters if Israel agrees to such a thing, because we're not really doing any Lebanon attacking. We're not doing any kind of Hezbollah war, at least as far as I'm aware. If we are, it's been very that's not something the U.S. is conducting in any large scale. So when they say that unclear if Israel has agreed, well, that's great if you have an agreement, but if one of the major parties hasn't agreed, that's not necessarily major news. Anyway, all of this is in the context of terms to be released, hopefully imminently, but as far as I've seen, before live, we still didn't have additional details about what's going on. I may sound a little bit discouraged or a little bit skeptical. I am, because I feel like I've seen this story 50 times in a row, and I'm not going to bite on this one and believe that everything's over now. But there's one thing, Matt, that makes me encouraged, that I do think is a little bit different from the last few iterations of this particular story, and that is that Lindsey Graham appears to be pissed off about it. Yesterday, Lindsey Graham tweeted,
I am a gay homosexual.
Quote, if a deal is struck to end the Iranian conflict because it is believed that the Strait of Hormuz can be protected from Iranian terrorism, or cannot be protected, from Iranian terrorism, and Iran still possesses the capability to destroy major Gulf oil infrastructure, then Iran will be perceived as being a dominant force requiring a diplomatic solution. This combination of Iran being perceived as having the ability to terrorize the strait in perpetuity and the ability to inflict massive damage to Gulf oil infrastructure. Wait a minute, that's the part I just read. Sorry, let me back up. Also, he added, it makes one wonder why the war started to begin with if these perceptions are accurate. I personally am a skeptic of the idea that Iran cannot be denied the ability to terrorize the strait and the region cannot protect itself against Iranian military capability. It is important that we get this right. Now, what exactly get this right means beyond military conflict forever, I guess, the senator did not explain. He added another tweet saying, this is going to be really bad. It's going to be like the Shia militias in Iraq on steroids if we go through with something that isn't up to Lindsey Graham standards. Now, Lindsey, I noticed this is an expression of skepticism, maybe even a defection from the president. It's not too late, since we're doing primary challenges. Let's primary Lindsey Graham.
God,
all right. The South Carolina, this is disloyalty. Okay. Trump, get on it. We can get a candidate in there for June 9th against Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. We got 2 weeks to work on it. But is Lindsey Graham really that tough of an incumbent to beat?
I don't know. No. It's weird he's never come out of the closet. Like, it's 20. No one cares anymore. It's 20. It's the current year.
Not only has he not come out, he's denied it. He has said, I am not gay.
No way.
You have any other thoughts on this pending Iran deal? My stance, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. Hey, great. I hope it happens, but I've seen this story many times now.
Well, this is I've actually lost track of how many times we've covered a variant of this story on this show. So yeah, my answer's the same. We'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't want to get my hopes up. It has, I think I defended the strike when it first happened on the show. I've kind of reversed course on that opinion. I think this was a huge mistake.
All right. Well, hopefully you will have some highly regarded appreciation when it is all solved tomorrow. Let's get into the shooting at the White House. Now, if it counted for Obama, you mentioned, Trump assassination attempts. The crazy guy who shot at the White House during Obama, they say Obama, there were like 11 assassination attempts on Obama. So this counts as yet another Trump assassination attempt. For consistency's sake, it has to. It is.
It's tough as this, and the correspondence dinner had basically a 0% chance of succeeding, but the shooter thought they were going to pull it off. So I guess you have to count it. I mean, Trump's had, I think, at the White House Correspondents' one, I think the count was 19, so this would be the 20th, unless there's one that happened between then we missed. But
20, there are 20 assassination attempts, or maybe are they counting foiled plots in that?
Yes, I'm including ones that were so half-assed they never had any chance of working. I mean, the only ones that really were close were obviously Butler, the golf course one, and then in 2016, a guy grabbed a cop's gun near Trump, but could not unholster it and then got tackled.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Wasn't
really
that at like
three.
an airport event or something?
Something like that. But so, I mean, I think there's really only been 3, but if we want to juice the numbers, I'm going 20.
Well, the Obama one, when the White House Correspondents one happened, I read that talking point a million times. So I had to look at the Wikipedia list. Oh, there were 11 attempted assassinations on Obama. One of them is like 2 guys sitting at a diner in South Carolina who are like, I don't like that Obama. Someone ought to kill him. And they counted that. Like 2 guys were overheard in conversation eating a sandwich. So this definitely counts. Yeah. But it was about 6 p.m. local time last night in D.C. A gunman previously known to the Secret Service opened fire on the west side of the White House, kind of the northwest corner, according to the map there. He just took out a revolver. He took a revolver out of a bag and started shooting. And Trump was at the White House at the time. Unlike the Obama incident where a guy shot at the White House and they counted as an assassination attempt, Obama wasn't even there in that one, and they count it as an assassination attempt. Trump was actually there working on the Iran deal at the time. So Secret Service immediately returned fire and killed him. A bystander was also hit by gunfire. Unclear whether that bystander was hit by the shooter or by Secret Service. Haven't seen any kind of information on the status or the condition of that bystander.
I saw critical ahead of the show.
Okay, so
unfortunately,
rough condition, hospitalized, but that person is still alive. Did you see an ID on that person? We know anything about that person?
No, I actually just saw it was like 20 minutes before the show. I was just clicking around the headline, so I didn't read it in depth. But
well, the shooter is identified as 21-year-old. Now, speaking of names, I don't know how to say Nasir. I guess I saw it with an E at the end, so I thought it was like Nasir. So now it's just Nasir. Okay, we're going with Nasir. Nasir Best. He was known to be a mentally troubled person with multiple prior Secret Service encounters. He would loiter around various entry points. He had previously violated a court order to stay away from the White House. And he was previously involuntarily committed to a mental institution last June, or in June last year, after obstructing traffic in D.C. So he's had these encounters. As far as why people say that he thought he was Jesus, he also was arrested in July again. So he had a mental health involuntary commitment in June. He got out. He was arrested again in July last year for unlawful entry when, again, he bypassed a Secret Service checkpoint or restricted White House pedestrian control post. So in that case, in the court documents, he claimed he was Jesus Christ. Now, and he wanted to get arrested. Is what? Did you say you don't believe him?
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Oh, okay. I believe the mask thing, but I don't believe him that. I don't believe that this guy was Christ.
No way.
Anyway, so he had claimed, according to court documents, that he was Jesus Christ, and he wanted to get arrested. So the sound of the gunfire was captured from a few different media sources. ABC reporter Selena Wang and the rest of the ABC personnel. She was recording a social media video at the time they all ducked for cover.
That President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart.
No.
Okay. But that reaction has been outdone.
This chick is wild.
By her NBC colleague, NBC reporter Julie Sirkin, who apparently was just confused, completely oblivious about what was happening.
What is that?
Sounds like fire.
Today, but this obviously comes just a couple of weeks after a shooting at the White House correspondence.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
What did the other reporter say to her when he said it sounds like, and I couldn't hear
fireworks. In fact, I have some commentary from her explaining what she was thinking.
Okay, interesting. She has, though, because people have been memeing this into oblivion. Okay, yeah. She has embraced the meme, and the one she's reacting to is hysterical. It's the Roman soldier in front of Christ's tomb.
Yes, said she's saying, what is that? Confused about how such a thing could be possible. Likewise, Trump has inducted her into the Meme Hall of Fame in the Oval Office. A great moment for her.
It's very cool. Oh my gosh. Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday. Wow. And it's
all right, so good for her. Now, she also wants to know what the hell that shadow is. She can't figure it out either. Nobody knows.
What is that?
Everybody wants to know what that thing is.
From this particular angle, it does look like a mask.
It is a
Maybe
bizarre
I'm retarded.
shadow.
I don't even know what to believe.
You got a shirt collar right here, so like different lighting conditions can cast weird shadows, but does he have like a floor light that is going upward to cast a shadow across his neck from the collar of his shirt?
He has to dispel it by going on the air, recreating that lighting, and then stepping back from it or something to then show he's not a, masked figure.
I would believe that. Yeah, if he could show me that. All right.
I demand evidence.
Okay. Now, I mentioned that this reporter, Julie Sirkin, has an explanation for what she was thinking. So she appeared on local DC NBC this morning. Now, you heard her cameraman there say, that sounds like fireworks. That is her explanation, but somehow her explanation makes it even harder to understand because she says, listen, I know what gunfire sounds like. After all, I was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when my colleague shoved me under a table to keep me safe.
What was the first thought that went through your mind when you heard those dozens of gunshots?
Well, honestly, guys, unfortunately, just 4 weeks ago, we heard gunshots at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. My colleague, Jose Diaz-Balart, threw me under the table. And so we knew very recently what gunshots sounded like. In this case, we were inside the White House where I'm standing right now yesterday, just after 6 p.m. My cameraman, who's still here with me today, John Bullard, and I heard about 20 to 30 loud booms rang out. They were so fast and concurrent that for a second, John looked at me and said, are those fireworks? I immediately was looking around to see what the Secret Service agents were doing because, of course, we are journalists. Our job is to report. They did not seem alarmed until those gunshots stopped. I peeked my head out again out of this tent we're standing in, and then I saw a Secret Service agent run out of a security checkpoint with a gun drawn, telling us to run inside the press briefing room in the White House. They locked down the White House at that point, and they had a Secret Service officer stationed outside those doors.
Now, it is funny. The whole thing is, and I I'm not. We all misunderstand things sometimes, so I'm not trying to be too harsh on this reporter. However, these are the people who are supposed to understand and who we entrust to explain all the world's complexities to us. And if they're that oblivious, it does give me some. Not that I'm trusting them by default anyway, but
we certainly don't trust them. But the rest of the world seems to, for some reason.
Just decide for yourself how well calibrated their senses are. Though, to your point, I will give her credit for leaning into the bit. I do appreciate that instead of trying to lecture everyone about being mean to her or something like that.
Yeah. I'm just glad her lack of survival instincts did not, end tragically.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, if that clip had ended badly, holy crap. I mean, anyway, don't need to speculate about that. But meanwhile, speaking of the memes, Marco Rubio has added yet another role. He's president of Iran, Venezuela, maybe Cuba very soon. He's attorney general. Now he is director of national intelligence, too. He has the gray hair stripe. He has the white pantsuit. He also briefly had to be Trump over the weekend, too, because the president could not attend Don Jr.'s wedding, his son, because he was too busy with Iran negotiations. So who did the Trump better, Marco Rubio or the bull? They should have sent the bull, maybe. I think the hair is a little more on point. This hair is too orange. You know, Trump is not that strawberry. Anyway, on Friday, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard submitted a letter of resignation. She will be leaving June 30th, so she'll stick around for a month or so still. But she says her husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer, and so she's stepping away to support him. And Trump responded on Truth Social saying Tulsi has done a great job. We will miss her. Aaron Lucas, her deputy, will step in and serve as acting director of national intelligence in the meantime. Now, I'm not saying that her husband's health situation is made up or that Tulsi is wrong to step aside to support her husband. I am saying that I don't buy that her husband suddenly got this diagnosis and she had to leave on the Friday before Memorial Day as the full extent of the story. There are clearly other factors here. It's not likely a coincidence that her deputy, this woman, Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, RFK Jr.'s daughter-in-law, just resigned. This is her top deputy. Just resigned this week as well. That seems unlikely to be a coincidence. There have been leaks of internal conflict at the Office of Director of National Intelligence. There have been whistleblower complaints. Tulsi Gabbard was accused of hiding a whistleblower complaint that popped up sometime in like June last year, and she's accused of withholding it from Congress. Now, she says she has her security reasons for doing that and that the whistleblower was acting politically. Maybe. We don't have the substance of this whistleblower complaint yet, but the point is there was a lot of conflict there. She's had a lot of conflict with Trump personally. Remember when Trump first bombed the nuclear sites in Iran last summer, Tulsi Gabbard came out and told Congress that there was no intelligence to suggest that Iran was building nuclear weapons. And Trump publicly disagreed with her, saying that she's wrong. And it's not just that I'm speculating that the bone cancer thing is not the full extent of the story. This Reuters reporting over the weekend is outright reporting it. They are saying that Tulsi Gabbard was forced out, according to a source they have familiar with the matter. Again, anonymous sources with knowledge. Decide if you buy that or not. But the quote is, she was pushed out by the White House. The White House has been unhappy with her for quite some time. Senior White House official then said that Trump had expressed displeasure with Gabbard in recent months. Another source with direct knowledge of the matter said the president had asked allies for their thoughts on potential replacements for the intel chief. So whether this is a firing or a genuine resignation, Trump has established a clear pattern this year.
The American people are tired of women.
Indeed. Gabbard is now the fourth woman to leave the cabinet. Kristi Noem in March, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer in April, and now Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. So my sources say there are three remaining. Kelly Loeffler at the Small Business Administration, Linda McMahon at the Education. I think she's actually been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, she's cool.
Brooke Rollins at Agriculture. Watch out, all of you, because he's coming for you.
There is a did you ever see the WWE storyline where it was like the battle of the billionaires between Trump and Vince McMahon?
No. I don't follow the wrestling world very closely.
I don't either, but it's just hilarious to watch back, in light of how history has played out. But the one thing I do like about Trump firing these people or forcing them out is he does create bullshit show jobs for them so they don't have to leave in humiliation. Like Kristi Noem still works the administration. It's just some made up role where I don't think she does anything.
Some ceremonial nonsense.
Same with Bondi. So that's nice.
Well, I do remember Sorry, I got to clear the nonsense out of my throat. But Bondi, he said that she was going on to some private sector job. But did she do that? I don't.
Am I misremembering that one?
I don't think she got. I don't think she held a job in the administration.
Maybe it's just Nome then. All right, I guess I'm wrong about Bondi.
And I don't know what happened to the labor secretary. In this case, though, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying that Tulsi faked it. For all I know, her husband does have a serious health condition. But it does seem to me like the situation is, listen, Trump has had enough, wants to make a switch. We don't want to have some kind of embarrassing public firing for you. Could you please just resign? And, it seems like you want to be by your husband's side. Let's go with that. And maybe they just mutually agreed to handle it that way instead of some like public feud.
Yeah. Someone pointed out Susie Wiles still, if you didn't list
Oh,
her.
yes.
Yeah.
Susie
And
Wiles.
she
You watch
seems
out
like
too,
a
Susie.
Solid. Yeah.
I don't know anything about Susie. I just know that all the women are getting axed. That's it. Okay.
As God intended. Anyway.
Anything else on Tulsi before we get into the Democrat autopsy?
No, let's
report?
go into this disaster.
Okay, what do you got for me?
All right, so first, if you wouldn't mind putting up the chart, I think would be useful. It's the one that shows all of the Republican gains from 2009. I think it's the second link I sent you. Yeah. So anyway,
before we get into the details, I didn't look closely at how this was so. Back up. There has been this autopsy from the Democrats about why they lost in 2024. This report has been known to exist for some time.
Yeah.
And this wasn't leaked, right? This was actually published.
So I saw incorrect reporting that it was leaked. And because I at first thought it was leaked, I thought maybe they'll disclose stuff in there that they don't want us to see. Like maybe for their 2020 election, they'll be like, haha, we stole it, guys. But no, that's not in there. So this was released by Ken Martin, the DNC chair. And it was released prematurely. And in fact, let me get the quote from him directly.
So it was a sort of a leak.
Yes.
But not, they had intended to get it out. Okay.
So Ken Martin said, upon it being released, for full transparency, I'm releasing the report as we received it, in its entirely unedited and unabridged. It does not meet my standards, and it will not meet your standards, but I'm doing this because people need to be able to trust the Democratic Party and our word. So I'm going to go through this seriously, and then at the end, show you guys what he means by the report is a disaster, and you're going to hate it, and it's hilarious.
How long was this going to take to put together to meet the standards? We're a long way out from that election now.
So it's 50,000 words. There are no sources really for mostly anything. There is no proofreading whatsoever. And as you'll see, it misses a lot of the key reasons they lost. The things I think in their favor aren't really. But to start with the chart, which is good news for us, it starts by showing...
I'm just enjoying quoting founding fathers here. Anyway.
Yeah, as if they would, yeah. But this is, good news for us in that in 2009, and this was the peak of the Obama coalition when it looked like Democrats were going to rule for many, many decades into the future. I think James Carville wrote a book about how I think Democrats were going to rule for at least 4 or 5 more decades because of the Obama bump. But they had 60 Senate seats, 256 in the House, 28 governorships, 4,082 state legislators, like the state House and Senate. I didn't even know there were that many positions. And obviously, 3,000 more Republican ones. And then they had 17 state trifectas, while Republicans only had 9, meaning Democrat governor, Democrat control of the House and the Senate. Now, by 2025, it had shifted where Republicans now are the majority of the Senate, as we know. The House seats are out of date. This is 2025. But as of 2025, it was plus 41 seats from 2009. Governorships are up 5. State seats were up 832. And then the trifectas are now Republican majority. It's plus 13. So good news for us. So when they analyze why they lost, well, let's start with what the report does not mention at all. It does not mention Joe Biden's age or his senility at all. Nor does it mention the sudden picking of Kamala Harris by, I'll say it, undemocratic means. So that debate, the debate that destroyed Biden's campaign does not get mentioned. There is no mention of inflation. There is no mention of alternative media like Joe Biden, Theo Vaughn, all these big podcasts that definitely boosted turnout for Trump among low propensity voters. No mention of white men and why they're detracting from the Democrats. And there's no mention of the border crisis, which was really the number one issue in addition to the economy. In fact, the only mention of the border is talking about how Republicans painted Kamala Harris as the border czar, which they said wasn't true because there's not literally a position called border czar. So there's that.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, is there's no mention of Gaza. And that was actually...
Gaza, you said?
Gaza, I say.
So this is my question, is because it was believed that this report was withheld because they were going to say, we can't release it because it's going to show how much everybody in our party hates the Jews. That was the theory. But how much do they get into that?
So there's no mention of Gaza whatsoever. And here's what's interesting.
Okay, so they didn't really. No, or they deleted that part before releasing it, maybe.
So there's a spokesman, his name unpronounceable, for a group called the Institute for Middle East Understanding, or the Middle East Understanding Policy Project. And he told Axios in February that his group met with DNC officials. Now he says, and I'm quoting, the DNC shared with us that their own data found that their policy was, in their words, a net negative in the 2024 election. According to the data, 29% of former Biden voters who did not choose Harris, which is about 122,000 voters across 6 swing states, were influenced by Gaza. Donald Trump won Dearborn, Michigan against Harris, which is the Muslim capital of America. Now, it was 41% to 40, with the rest going to Jill Stein, but he still did get the plurality vote there, which never otherwise would have happened. There is no mention really of the trans stuff or women's sports, although hilariously, there's a line that talks about how they need to avoid being on the wrong side of 80-20 issues and never mention a single 80-20 issue or speculate what they might be. The only mention of the trans stuff is how they talk about that Trump's ad where he says, Trump is for you, Kamala is for they, them, they admit was a fantastic ad and really hurt them a lot.
And they praised John Tester for avoiding those risks of being on the wrong side of 80-20 issues. John Tester got ousted in Montana.
Yes. Yep.
So, follow John Tester at your own risk. It didn't work for him, at least in this state.
So their game plan going forward, what's interesting is they are resigned to defeat in rural America. They don't think they're ever going to win back rural America. Their strategy is lose by less. Which, to be fair, I mean, that was kind of Trump's strategy with the black vote, which was, if we get 20 or 25%, it's still better than nothing. They made an interesting comment where they say that demographics are not destiny, and their evidence, they incorrectly say that Trump won the Latino vote. He won Latino men by a few points, and their support was not for the Republican Party. It was for Trump versus a horrible candidate, because Latino men still overwhelmingly vote Democrat in every other race. This was just the exception. The fact that Trump won despite an increasingly browning America does not prove that demographics aren't destiny. It just proves Trump would have won by an even larger margin had it not been for all the imported voters from them. They also note anti-Trump sentiment has limits. It doesn't seem to be working. But they're still campaigning on that right now, so no one's taking that advice. And then they note that identity politics does not seem to be working with men of color, which I think is true. So let me see what else. Oh, so next we'll go through all of the funny errors I made. I think I put them all in one document for you. After that one.
Oh, sorry, I should have had this up. I didn't. That was my mistake.
That's fine.
But that's all right. I think I was able to follow around in the document.
All right. So these three. Go back one.
Wait, where did I? Oh, it's all these. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So these are, I copied and pasted them all into one doc just to make it easier for you. But these are 3 separate things you see on the screen. So the first one is a disclaimer on the top of the report. Disclaimer: this document reflects the views of the author, not the DNC. The DNC was not provided with the underlying sourcing, interviews, or supporting data for many of the assertions contained herein, and therefore cannot independently verify the claims presented.
Who was hired to make the report? Did they say?
Who the hell knows? So
just, we're giving the Alec Baldwin. Someone is responsible, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
The next is the methodology. So you see it highlighted. The report analyzes a range of publicly and commercially available data. There's then a note: there's been no source material or data provided. These claims cannot be independently verified. Yeah. You go to the executive summary. This section was not provided by the author.
Oh, so they made their own summary of what someone sent them, I guess?
No, they just had a section for where to put the executive summary, and they never wrote it.
Oh, that's what it means. It was just, so there was
there's no executive summary. They just published it without it. Yeah.
Got it.
The next part was, and you'll see there the highlights of there's no evidence, no sources. That's every single page of the document, basically. There's one part here highlighted. It's talking about Biden winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin in 2016, to which the note says all 3 of these states went for Trump in 2016.
Bingo.
And then this is the last one.
Oh, you mean Hillary, not Biden, Hillary.
Yes, yeah, Hillary. It's Hillary. Sorry. And then the last part, and I was actually surprised they fact-checked this. They say nearly 3,000 people stormed the Capitol building, leading to the deaths of 5 people on January 6th.
Yeah.
And they correctly put an annotation to the deaths of 5 people saying this is contradicted. So good
there was
for them
another
there,
claim. They said a cop was beaten to death on January 6th, and it also said citation needed.
Yeah.
It is right here. One Capitol police officer who was beaten to death by the insurrectionists.
Which is not true.
I assume they mean Brian Sicknick, who of course was not. But yeah.
Oh, and sorry, there's one more on the end where the wording here is a little unclear, but they seem to imply that Trump was president in 2022, to which they have to remind the author that actually in 2022, Joe Biden was president.
So it says this was a blatant attempt by the Republican power base to take advantage of name recognition and tough economic conditions to push through an unqualified candidate whose job would have been little more than rubber stamping the president's agenda. Who are they talking about? Oh, it's
there's a bunch
in
of
the
context in like paragraphs. I didn't want. I would have to read through like 5 paragraphs to get the context. So the TLDR is they incorrectly thought Trump was president. So that's the report. It's a total disaster. The Republican National Committee has $100 million in cash on hand right now, a little more than. The DNC is in debt. So if they play their cards right, I mean, I know that I don't think there's really been a case where the incumbents party has gained seats during a midterm cycle, but we have had some good news redistricting. It's their election to lose.
If Trump were to completely turn around the Iran stuff and the economy, it's not, there are pieces that are in favor of something like that happening. There's a lot of stuff that would have to happen. I would by no means predict Republican gains in the House at this point, but there are little pieces that potentially are favorable if other things go the right way. Now, you heard it in the intro. I wanted to talk about this too, because this guy on MS Now, so MS Now is doing a segment on this released DNC report. His name is Eugene Daniels, and he's the Washington correspondent for MS Now. And I know he's not with the party, but I think he represents... I
think he was with the DNC at one point, wasn't
he? I don't know if he's been with the DNC.
What's his name?
But he does have a history with the White House Correspondents Association, and he was formerly at Politico. He's not formally with the party, but I do take this as an indicator that Democrats will learn nothing and double down on all the nonsense that loses them elections. Listen to this analysis.
Inshallah.
They claim Republicans are just better at politics. Quote, at times it seems Democrats are trying to win arguments while Republicans are focused on winning elections. Democrats operate in an ecosystem defined by reason, even in cycles when the electorate is defined by rage. What should Democrats do with that?
They should be more comfortable with the idea of power. That at the end of the day, if you are not in office, you can't do anything. The question about whether or not you should focus on identity politics, like Donald Trump only focuses on identity politics, right? It is the heart of the MAGA movement, right? That white people are being replaced, this conspiracy theory that has no basis in fact. That, black and brown people are taking the jobs of folks. Like, that is identity politics. But you can use identity politics, quote unquote, as a kitchen table issue. Right? When you talk about whether or not people can have access to healthy, safe abortions, that is a kitchen table issue, right? Whether or not a trans kid can get the services they need, that is a kitchen table issue for families. Democrats have an opportunity and are trying to figure out how to take that opportunity, but have an opportunity to actually be an answer for folks.
It is an alternate universe out there. Can you imagine sitting down for dinner and being like, so, chopping a kid's dick off. We all want that, right? And then killing our kid.
See, that's the thing. You don't have a family sitting around your kitchen table to discuss things if you abort all your kids.
Bingo.
But hey, I wouldn't. I shouldn't be shocked by the gay DC reporter being totally disconnected to what actual American families discuss at their tables. But even before we get to what he had to say, I love that section of the report. Do I have it? Yeah, the idea. This isn't even his premise. This is in the report. That yes. We Democrats, we love to operate by evidence and reason.
That's incorrect.
But we have to recognize that some elections are defined by rage. Yes, that's the problem with the Democrat Party. Too much reason, not enough rage. And then what he adds on to that, Democrats need to be comfortable with power. They hesitate to wield power.
If only.
They spied on their political opposition. They impeached him on nonsense terms. They, at best, took advantage of, potentially unleashed an entire virus to upend a presidential election and gain power again that way. Then they tried to prosecute their opponent on nonsense charges while going after regular citizen members of their opposition on questionable January 6th terms. At what point have they ever hesitated to use power? At what norm have they defended? It's just like the report itself. Yeah. No citation or citation needed. No source was provided.
Yeah, which means that they're doing all of these things and deep down think it's not enough.
Well, and what I actually would like to ask that guy sincerely, what more would you do short of
yeah.
I know that you guys call Trump a Nazi and an existential threat to this country, and critically, cynically, you could view that as an endorsement of people taking morally justified violent action, morally justified in your phrasing and your framing, violent action against Donald Trump. What more would Democrats do short of actually pointing the gun and pulling the trigger themselves? What else do they have?
The weird thing is, because they all compare him to Hitler, but then whenever there's an assassination attempt, all the Democrats, to their credit, I think they're just pretending, they do condemn it publicly. So it's like, hey, I'm glad to hear you survived, Hitler. Go live another day.
You so bad guy who tried to kill Hitler, don't do that again. Yeah. I hope you get locked up. And when he says, these conspiracy theories that black and brown people are taking our jobs, that's not. It's not the conspiracy theory necessarily that black and brown people are taking white people's jobs, although anytime you import immigrants, jobs are going to be consumed, especially when the price of labor is undercut in that way. But what he's actually talking about, it should be, you should have sympathy for fellow black people whose jobs are, there's plenty of evidence to support the idea that, remember, Trump got in trouble for saying black jobs, remember that in 2024? Yeah. When you import cheap labor, and generally speaking, you have disproportionate amounts of black people in lower paying, lower skilled jobs. Guess who gets replaced in that workforce by importing low wage, low skill labor? It's a lot of black workers. There's plenty of study, plenty of evidence to that effect. It's not white people sitting around being angry that some black guy took my job, although there are diversity policies in lots of work environments that have that effect too. But even if you want to just cast aside the evil whites, this is a problem for black people, and he just dismisses it.
I'm going back 12 years here, but I remember when I was taking labor economics back in college, we reviewed a bunch of studies on the impact of illegal immigration, and it was black workers, those with black jobs, as Trump would call it, were those most harmed by it. And then it was legal Hispanics were the second most harmed by it. The white people are mainly displaced by legal immigration, the H-1B stuff. I mean, computer science used to be a job where that was what you were supposed to go to school for, that or a STEM degree that guaranteed you to get a job. And I think last time I checked, I think sociology majors have lower unemployment rates out of college now than computer science majors who are native-born Americans. So, obviously the sociology jobs are probably outside of their own field or not paying as much. But the point being, it's turned it into a job where you can submit hundreds of applications and not get a job.
I will emphasize that this guy, Eugene Daniels, his role at MS Now is Washington correspondent. That's supposed to be a reporter's role. It's not necessarily an opinion analyst role. He was also at Politico. Likewise, he was a reporter there. And he was president of the White House Correspondents Association. So the entire organization of journalists who cover the White House. This deranged, detached person is supposedly well connected to the world of DC journalism. So anyway, thanks for that piece of entertainment to Mr. Daniels. All right. Anything else on the DNC report before we get to some Super Chat and we'll get to our guests?
No, let me bring up the Super Chats.
All right. Before we get into the Super Chats, hey, have you considered joining the MC Club? Well, you should. Here's why. Hey, if you enjoy the show... Whoops, let's try again. Hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show by becoming a member of the MC Club. For as little as $1 a month, you will enjoy a series of exclusive perks, including ad-free videos and podcasts, video calls, and a community Discord server with me and other listeners, loot box giveaways with channel merchandise, your name in the credit roll after videos and streams, and much more. But most importantly, you will help keep the Duct Tape production alive and independent from all those sinister forces of control. Join the MC Club at mattchristensenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. Okay, hopping into Super Chat, our friend Joshy Boy says, my heart is broken over Mama Tulsi's departure, but good on her for resigning from her career to be there for her husband. Hey, we can all appreciate that. I know you're probably devastated that Tulsi Gabbard has left. I've never been a big Tulsi Gabbard appreciator. Not that anybody who sees some light to come over from the clutches of the Democrat Party I can appreciate, but fundamentally Tulsi Gabbard is, my understanding, remains largely a big government person. Big government in the context of healthcare, big government in the context of gun control, many other contexts. So would I prefer her to the average Democrat? Certainly. But that does not make me want her to be in positions of federal power or sad that she's leaving that position, though, of course, I can have respect for her family, and I hope the best for her husband and his health, and I wish them all the best.
Yeah, she's basically a moderate Democrat. I mean, she changed parties just, I think, because it was politically convenient. But same with RFK Jr.
Yeah, and I didn't know that her deputy too was RFK Jr.'s daughter-in-law. So
she definitely got the job as she's the most qualified.
I guess I could assume that Tulsi and RFK probably had something of a close relationship, and of course they're in the same cabinet. So, yeah. But and I suppose that's how it works. Like, hey, you need someone to be your assistant. I got just the lady, and so RFK made that suggestion. I assume is how that happened.
Do you want me to read the next one?
Yeah, go. We'll alternate. Now, I realized that until this point in time, I never had Matt reading chats, which is like, what? I need to do that. So now Matt can read chats. You know, we're upgrading little pieces every single stream around here.
This is Orthodox Christian Andrew says, in quotation marks, if you can read this ... Nah, if you hear this, you are LMAO.
Gay, LMAO.
Well, I didn't hear it from him, so I'm not gay.
Rules are rules. Thank you, Andrew. Esoterica Unbound. It seems every California sing-along ends with a dirge. They are sing-alongs. That's a good term for it. I've seen enough of these sing-alongs, though, and a place like California, the question about California, how bad do things in California have to get before people would ever consider the possibility, hey, maybe the party I've always voted for has some flaws. Like, how bad could the opposition really be? How many more truck crashes on the California interstate or across the country of people licensed to drive clearly who are unqualified from California do we have to see before California's voters would consider an alternative?
There's no amount is the unfortunate reality. And you see this play out where, and this is even other countries that didn't have a community relations service, like the government agency that would meet with white people if their kid was killed in like a racially motivated killing to kind of tell them to tone it down. If you are a liberal, a white liberal, and your kid is killed by a minority, it for some reason strengthens their faith. They have to double down on, you know what, the bigger picture here is that we're not racist as a result of this, blah, blah, blah. And women are a very good example of people who will walk to their car at night with their car key between their fingers to fight off a criminal or a rapist or whatever, but then will go on and support candidates that let criminals out of jail because it's racist to keep them in jail. Then also, even if we're going to talk about other issues like taxes, if high tax rates turn people Republican, the coasts would be the most right-wing states in the country, and they're obviously the exact opposite. So, It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So these situations too, this is the multiple times in these Singh incidents, I've heard this situation where you have a slowdown in traffic, that maybe it's a construction zone was another case, or traffic's just backed up. It's the worst situation for a driver because now I don't drive on the interstate very much anymore. I used to drive more when my parents weren't living in town. And of course, I'm not going to drive next to a big rig in general if I don't have to. Just stay clear of that. But these situations where you're in a position where traffic is backed up or slow, you can't really avoid the big rig when you are slowed down or stopped and you look in your rear view mirror and it's oncoming and not stopping. And I've been in a situation like that in 2020. I was stopped on a road and I had a guy pulling a giant camper trailer coming behind because the guy in front of me was trying to make an illegal left in a curvy mountain road. And so the guy's coming behind me with a speedway jackasses are out here driving their motorcycles or something, if you can hear that.
Nah.
So anyway, I see this truck come around the corner. It's got a giant trailer. I realize like that truck's not gonna be able to stop. It did slam on the brakes and the damage was minimal. But that moment when I looked in the rearview mirror and realized this giant truck is coming to hit me and I can't do anything about it. I'm just sandwiched. If that's actually a giant big rig and you just get completely crushed, what an awful few moments before the end of your life. And not that any fatality in this context is better or worse or justified or not, but it's I guess what I'm saying, the thing that sucks is it's in the context of California traffic, it's very hard to just avoid. You know, like on Montana Interstate, if I see a truck, get the hell away from that truck. I'm just staying far, far away. California Interstate, a lot harder oftentimes.
Yeah. I guess the horrible California traffic works in your favor if everyone's going slow in that case. Anyway.
Except for the Indian truck drivers.
Except for them. They're the one
That's
exception.
the problem.
Yeah. Another one from Esoterica Unbound. Obama is such a wimp that they count every time that he backtalked Big Mike and received some physical correction as an attempted ass-ination. You mean a butt-ination?
Bingo.
Yeah, right. You can't say assassination, so ass-ination. Although in this context,
I think it was a gay joke, but
it might be a gay joke. Yeah,
I think it's definitely a gay joke.
Thank you, Esoterica.
For YouTube.
I got one that came through from Tim here. Yeah. If DNC didn't honestly address the 2020 rigging, you can't know what to do next time. Nobody believes Biden got 81 million votes. You can't build future moves off that false basis. Hell, a bunch of 2020 election laws were overturned before 2024.
Yeah, the argument in favor of the 81 million votes being legitimate was supposed to be, well, it's mail-in vote, so it's no effort. It's just you go check a box. So the return rate is going to be so much higher than if you actually have to get off your ass to go to a poll. But where did they then go in 2024, given they were also mail-in voters then as well? So, yeah, it's a little suspicious.
I'm going to hop over to Rumble quickly. I saw one come in from Long Dong John there, so we'll come back to that. Yakko is up next for me on Rumble. I got it. You can take Newbie next. Citizen Free Press has headlines indicating that the deal with Iran is falling apart. Okay, so they're demanding a ceasefire against Hezbollah and $12 billion in payments. That is essentially asking the U.S. to surrender. Okay, so once again, we get the Truth Social post. And we don't know that this is what's going to happen. All right, the news might change. But this is why you can't take the Truth Social post about everything coming to a perfect conclusion seriously anymore, because you wait a day or two, few hours sometimes, and it's totally contradicted. So, and of course that's going to be complicated too, because if Hezbollah and Lebanon are part of the demands here, the U.S. can agree to that in principle, but that's Israel's war, man. Mm-hmm. Like, how are we going to restrain Israel?
I think
we can tell them to stop. I guess what you can do is you can tell them to stop, or we're not giving you military aid. But is that, as a practical matter, going to happen? I doubt it.
I think we should slip a note to Iran that one of their conditions has to be we stop funding Israel forever and ask for our $300 billion back over the past 70 years. That would be awesome. With interest.
We'll start there. All right.
This is Newbie of Death. We knew this one was coming. If you read this, you are gay. LMAO.
LMAO.
I was not gay earlier. I apparently now am.
For future reference, you don't have to read the "You are gay" LMAO. I always have that teed up.
You are gay LMAO.
All Okay, let's get Long Don John. We'll get into our guest segment. Long Don John says, Trump's AI video on Stephen Colbert hit just perfect. Good riddance to that pathetic act. I didn't see the video. I saw the really screenshot. Funny. He just chucked him in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
He returned to Twitter just for that.
Oh, he did post that one on Twitter.
Yeah, he very rarely posts on X, yeah.
But that was a special one. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, we are going to, we'll stop there with Super Chat.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
And before we get to our guest segment, I just want to add a little bit of context. So a week back from Wednesday, we talked about a CIA whistleblower testifying to Rand Paul and the Senate Homeland Security Committee about Dr. Fauci intentionally covering up the COVID lab origin, not just at his own National Institutes of Health, but according to this whistleblower, Dr. Fauci was working to do that cover up within the intel community, as in the CIA, the FBI, the rest of the intel agencies, which is not where Dr. Fauci worked. That's not what Dr. Fauci did. That whistleblower was Jim Erdman, and Jim is a part of this organization called Feds for Freedom. And those are this week's guests. We have Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton, also in leadership at Feds for Freedom. They work with that whistleblower, Jim Erdman, at the organization, talk about the whistleblower testimony of their colleague, what's going on otherwise at Feds for Freedom, plenty more. Segment's about 31 minutes. We'll see you on the other side.
Stand back and stand by.
Fed. Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration. Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20 plus years.
Welcome back. Our guests tonight are Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton with the organization Feds for Freedom, an organization of federal employees, contractors, and military personnel pushing back against government overreach. Stephanie and Marcus, thank you for making time.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So I became aware of your organization, and I think Matt too, through this recent Senate testimony from Jim Erdman, who's a part of your organization, talking about how Dr. Fauci allegedly interfered with the intel agencies on COVID origin from the Wuhan lab. And so I'm brand new to the organization. I think we both are. I gather the organization was born from COVID overreach generally, but what is Feds for Freedom? What are your roles? What are your priorities?
So I first have to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there that anything I say today is my own opinion and doesn't necessarily reflect that of my employer, since I am still with the federal government. But Feds for Freedom was started in September of 2021 when the mandates first came out, the federal COVID mandates, and this was for federal employees and contractors. They released both mandates at the same time. And it started with myself, Jim, and a handful of others. I had previously worked with Homeland Security for almost a decade, most of that time as a Border Patrol agent. And so I started talking with my friends, my peers, former colleagues in the Border Patrol, as well as colleagues at the State Department. And we were looking at these mandates and realized that they were going to try and fire us for our religious convictions. And we talked to the unions, we talked to members of Congress, we talked to all of these different offices and mechanisms that were supposed to be there to help us. And we very quickly realized that nobody was coming to help us. And if we wanted to do something, we had to stand up and do it ourselves. And so we pooled our resources, tried to hire attorneys to represent us, a law firm, and eventually did find attorneys who were willing to represent us. And they connected me with Jim who had pulled together a group from his coworkers, and we all came together. We brought legal challenges against the vaccine mandates, the COVID mandates, and our case ended up going all the way to the Supreme Court. We did win our case. We were able to successfully challenge those mandates and get them shut down. And, now we've pivoted as an organization. We still are focused very much on that issue. There has to be accountability if we want to prevent what happened from ever happening again. There has to be accountability, not only at an institutional level, but on personal, individual levels for those who engaged in violation of constitutional rights. And so we're continuing to push for that. We're also pushing as an organization for broader reforms, because in going through this process, we came to the realization that the mandates were only a symptom of the brokenness that is in the system as it is now. And the bureaucracy in the federal government is not, by and large, representative of the people that it serves. And so it's, we unfortunately see a lot of unaccountability, a lot of lack of transparency. And so we're pushing as an organization for greater transparency, greater accountability, and for a more representative bureaucracy within the federal government that actually serves the people that we're there to serve. And so we've had a number of different successes on that. Last year, we had a big legal win. We challenged a Carter-era legal precedent that was called Luvano Consent Decree. And essentially what this legal precedent established was that the federal government was prohibited from using the civil service exam in order to select employees based on merit and skills. And so for the last almost 50 years, we have hired federal employees based almost solely on their resume and their interview, both of which are entirely subjective. And so we recognized that that was a problem. That problem had contributed directly to what we experienced, what we went through during the mandate period. And we got that overturned. We're optimistic that, at some point in the near future, we hope that the government will re-implement some form of a civil service exam. So we know that all federal employees who are hired meet some basic level of skills and abilities, competency and merit for that position.
I hate to snicker at competency among the federal workforce, but I'm glad that you are aiming high with your ambitions. That's very good. You mentioned accountability, and I'm glad to hear that your organization is expanding beyond just the COVID era, because certainly there's plenty of need for accountability in the federal government generally, but man, is there need for accountability in the COVID context too. And when I hear your friend Jim before Rand Paul and the rest of that Senate committee talking about how Fauci was intentionally trying to cover up the lab origin of the virus, I look at that guy and I wonder, will there ever be accountability for him? And I know you're not DOJ, you're not the guy who would try to bring charges or think about how the pardon might apply. But just in general, from your organization's perspective, do you think that there will be accountability for Fauci or the rest of the COVID era power structure?
I have to hope that there will be, because if there is not accountability, then there's nothing to discourage people from engaging in the same type of behavior in the future. If we don't have accountability, not only, again, institutionally, but also on an individual level, then the people who engaged in the sort of discriminatory behavior that we saw and did everything that they could to purge the federal government of employees of faith, of employees who stood up and actually took their oath seriously, those same actors, those same leaders are going to remain in power and remain in position and are going to be even more emboldened to go even harder next time around. On Fauci specifically, I don't know. There's the question of the pardon and how it applies and whether or not the auto pin is a factor in that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to pretend that I have the answers, but where there is opportunity to enforce accountability, we absolutely have to pursue those measures. If we don't, then we've lost our country.
One question I've always wondered with Fauci was, what exactly was the motive in denying the lab leak theory? And that we're told we're supposed to follow the science, and if he is supposed to be a man of science, what exactly is the reason to lie? Is it just because he had, he had a scientific relationship with China? Do we have a theory for why he lied? I mean, I think we know he did, but do we know why?
I can't speak to the motives. I think what we have seen is overwhelming evidence that he did in fact lie repeatedly, not only to Congress, but to the American public, whether it was, making up the 6-foot rule out of thin air. There are a whole host of issues and facts that were completely fabricated. And so to me, it's, I don't want to speculate on what his motives were. I think that it's clear from my perspective that he had significant conflicts of interest, and I think that there needs to be, we need to take a serious look, and whether it's lawmakers or the DOJ, there needs to be significant scrutiny on those conflicts of interest, and whether or not there is a path for accountability.
Well, just on that, I mean, it's obviously that Fauci lied, at least to cover his own tracks, his own dealings in the making of COVID itself. Because if you look at the trail, it included EcoHealth Alliance, that's Peter Daszak's organization. It included Ralph Barrick at the UNC, and all looking at the Wuhan lab. I mean, it all was connected, and Fauci seemed to be at the very root of it. So obviously he lied to cover his own tracks, at least.
I might be.
And then I think there's also the question, who was head of ethics at the time?
I might be going a little too far with this question, but I love to go down these rabbit holes. And of course, a lot of the testimony from Jim was about lab origin, and I think, in my opinion, that's pretty well demonstrated. But it often operates within the premise of lab leak. Whoopsie, the virus got out. Oh, sorry about that. You guys ever think about the prospect of intentional release? Is that something that your organization has ever thought about, or is that beyond sort of the scope of what you guys work in?
I'm not a scientist. I don't want to speculate on that. I think that to me, the important thing is we don't know what happened, even though we have all of these tools at our disposal to pursue those answers. And what was clear from the testimony that we saw at the Senate last week was that those who were asking those questions and seeking to find the answers, the truthful, transparent answers about what happened and how COVID came to exist as we knew it, those are questions that need to be asked, and there needs to be an honest investigation into what happened, who was involved, and how did it happen? Was it intentional? Was it not? Was it natural origin? Was it a lab leak? These are important questions that, we should not be censoring those who are seeking to find the truth in the matter. And unfortunately, what we saw in the testimony was that those who were seeking those answers were censored. They were, heavily influenced by outside forces that should not have been influencing their work.
I've noticed since the testimony, a lot of the articles coming out have been really focused on Fauci, but what Jim detailed was much deeper than Fauci, that although Fauci was seeming at the root of this, the intelligence community was being used by Fauci and was willingly going along with, one, covering up the origin by changing reports in the middle of the night at 1:53 a.m. when that task force had concluded that it was most likely a lab leak. It was changed by one person in the middle of the night to be...
And that was Fauci himself, just so I understand? Or
no,
do we know who that was?
No, it was the manager of this. It was the head of this particular task force within the CIA to come up with what is the intelligence community's assessment of the origin.
Got it.
And I think one of the other things we need to look at as well when we're broaching this topic is the conflict of interest. When you have these government scientific researchers, they're actually from my understanding, one of the only federal government employees who are actually allowed to receive royalties on the work that they do. And so what it does is it creates this massive conflict of interest where the scientists who are working directly with the diseases, not only in some cases in creating or enhancing the diseases, but also in creating or enhancing the cure for the disease, can get royalties for that. And so I think that is something that really has to be looked into as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that, we want to hire, retain, and have the best scientific minds working on these issues within the government, but we also want to make sure that there are not conflicts of interest and that we're not creating perverse incentive structures that are going to lead to future incidents like what we saw in COVID.
Something else that Jim pointed out was that the CIA is literally spying on American citizens who were tasked within ODNI, within the DIG, the Directors Initiatives Group, to come up with the conclusion of, okay, what exactly happened with COVID? This is just within the past year. The CIA was spying on those individuals, including Jim's group, and those people, the CIA has not been held accountable. So it's not just Fauci, it is the scientists, but it's also the CIA as a whole.
So wait, just so I understand that, because Jim is a CIA guy himself, right?
Yes.
Or was at the time, or is currently. I don't know his current role.
He is
actually.
currently.
Okay. So when you say the CIA was spying on him and his group, it was in their private capacity, or no. I guess what I'm curious is that CIA on CIA spying, or is that like what the group was non-CIA, but he was?
I think the bigger issue here is that ODNI is supposed to have oversight over CIA. It's not supposed to be the other way around. And per Jim's testimony, that was flipped on its head.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's whatever's going on. I mean, the degree to which the intelligence was changed, as you said, there's not really a great explanation for that, especially if all the evidence is pointing somewhere else. So it was really what he had to say, I think, was very important. But of course, what was sad about that too was it ended up being sort of a partisan show. I don't mean to say that Jim was partisan. I don't think he was. But if I understand correctly, I don't think any Democrats even showed up for that hearing. It was just Jim talking to Republican senators. Is that correct?
That's correct. But there were more Republicans on that committee than that showed up as well. Some were not there. And I think it's important to point out that during the COVID time, Republicans were in lockstep with the Democrats. So it was kind of like a uniparty that we were seeing during COVID. So it was interesting that distinction was made. But yes, there were no Democrats in the room.
Do you find this issue to be extremely partisan in that way in your work? I mean, I don't think that it necessarily has to be. I wish our country could come together more on these issues because I think they're things everybody should care about. But do you find this to be an extremely partisan arena or not?
No, it's not partisan at all. In fact, when you look at the founding of our organization, we had people from every part of the political spectrum that came and joined together at the beginning of this. You had and even when you look now at the MAHA movement, it's not partisan. You can't get more Democrat than being part of the Kennedy family, right? And so health, transparency, accountability, and when it comes to the COVID mandates, freedom of expressing your constitutional rights, your religious freedoms, those are not partisan issues, and they shouldn't be. And it's unfortunate that in some ways, like we saw in this congressional hearing, there are those who want to make it a partisan issue because it's not. It's an American issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a freedom issue.
Yeah. Federal employees are supposed to be putting the Constitution before the institution. Like their oath is to the Constitution and uphold that. And what we have seen has been the absolute opposite, and especially within the intelligence realm, where they will put the institution first. They will do anything to protect the institution. But what we saw on Wednesday was a real Fed for Freedom, Jim Erdman, stand up and put the Constitution first, put the people of America first, because they deserve the transparency. They deserve the accountability. That was what he was blowing the whistle on.
Can you tell me a little bit about Fed culture? And I know it's a giant bureaucracy and you guys maybe have a limited experience with it, but as an outsider, I just assume that all Fed culture is kind of left wing and that it's sort of big government in orientation because it needs to be, because that's how everybody gets paid. But I don't have any experience in there. So what, with an organization like yours that is about at least accountability for the federal government, if not downsizing some things, how is that received within the federal workforce, within the federal bureaucracy? Is it popular stuff? Are you guys scoffed at? How are you received?
We get mixed results. I get a lot of hate mail, but and I think it's important to note that even with you,
can we read some?
I don't know, but even within the federal government, there's a lot of diversity, if you will, in the political makeup of the different agencies. And so when you look at agencies like Homeland Security, they're much more balanced. A lot of components of DHS are more of a closer to a 50-50 split when you look at political contributions, let's say, as a marker, as an indicator. And then you have other institutions like the Department of State, where 90+% of political contributions always go to the Democrat Party. So it just depends. It depends on the agency. And then as far as accountability and reform go, those issues generally are well received by all parties. But our organization seeks to promote accountability and transparency, regardless of who's in power, regardless of which party holds power, regardless of which administration is in charge. But unfortunately, what you see from a lot of legacy media outlets, from a lot of our colleagues within the federal government, is they only care about accountability when their preferred party is not in power.
Maybe over at that other department down there too, not ours. I don't know. Sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
I think those who put the Constitution before the institution are definitely a minority in the federal government, but there are a few who will put everything on the line to do what is right. And the Feds for Freedom really puts its actions behind what they say. The recent flu shot mandate removal within the military was something we really pushed for, and it happened. We put together a religious discrimination survey, just trying to document what went on in the past 5 years due to this COVID-19 vaccine mandate. And that survey was actually put in the recent report that the Eradication of Anti-Christian Bias Task Force gave to the president. So just documenting what our federal employees saw during that time and the adverse actions that they felt.
I think it's important
to note too that when the mandates first came out, I would say roughly half of the federal workforce did not felt that it would violate their convictions to participate, and unfortunately, a significant number of those ultimately were coerced into submitting. At the end of the day,
do they have any recourse? Let's say that I'm a federal employee who didn't want to take the vaccine, and all that whole mandate came out. You guys have successfully defeated it. If I'm a person who was coerced into it and it was later deemed illegal, and that happened in the private context too a lot with the OSHA stuff, do they have any kind of any sort of corrective measure they can get or collect or anything like that?
Not organization wide. At this point, the only option is for people to pursue individual remedies through court, which is unfortunate. When you look at the military secretary, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, he and his team have really done a fantastic job of doing everything that they can to mitigate the harms that were experienced by uniformed services members of the armed services as a result of the COVID mandates. And so they are offering, to reinstate members, to provide them with back pay, and to try and get their careers back on track. What we have not seen, unfortunately, is any sort of similar offer from the civil service side of things. So the civilians who are serving within the federal government, which is a significant number of individuals who are affected just within when we look at the people who were impacted by our organization's litigation, we saved the jobs of, nearly 400,000 patriots who did not comply with the mandates. But unfortunately, a significant number of those are still, myself included, are still suffering severe adverse effects to their career trajectories as a result of what they went through. They were labeled insider threats. They were removed from their offices. They were suspended without pay. And, you know, there are many who are still going through that and, you know, have not been made whole. And I don't know if they ever will be. We're doing what we can as an organization to fight for that, both in courts as well as through engaging with the administration. But, you know, it's something that needs a lot more attention.
With the time we have left, Marcus, I didn't know you had a Border Patrol background. So I just invite your thoughts on the state of immigration enforcement. We've seen a lot of crazy conflict over the last year or so. It's maybe a little bit outside the wheelhouse of Feds for Freedom, but you've got that experience. I don't get to talk to people involved in border security very often. What's your assessment of the current state of the border?
When I speak with my former colleagues who are still in the Border Patrol, they are thrilled to finally be given the opportunity to enforce the law. It's the first time that they've been able to do so in a long time. And, you know, everything that I've heard is that morale is through the roof at the Border Patrol. And, you know, I wish them all the best and hope that they stay safe and hold the line.
Matt, do you have any other things you want to ask about?
No one's watching for me.
Wise man, I guess. Well, Stephanie and Marcus, is there anything that we didn't ask about that you think is important to understand for your organization or the things that you fight for? Any topics that we missed?
Whistleblower protections.
Okay.
I think this is something that Jim did bring out in his statement, that whistleblower protections are not what they seem, that they don't work, they're not followed. And this is something we've been trying to help whistleblowers within our organization. I think the protections definitely need to be shored up and strengthened. It was interesting. We heard from the staffer of Rand Paul that right as Jim started speaking last Wednesday, multiple whistleblowers started calling the Rand Paul office, and the staffers didn't know how to handle it. But this is how you get transparency, is encouraging whistleblowers to speak up and to actually do what the protections say they're going to do.
So what are the areas that are lacking or what needs to be strengthened in terms of the protections?
Marcus,
I think first off, you need to, right now, a lot of the whistleblower protections are enforced at the agency level. And so you have the fox guarding the hen house, if you will. When there are investigations of wrongdoing, of course, the agency is going to say that they're not guilty and that there's nothing to see. We have an agency called the Office of Special Counsel, which is government-wide. They have one job, and that is to protect federal whistleblowers. And unfortunately, what we saw during COVID was that the Office of Special Counsel, in almost every single case, failed to protect those whistleblowers. So in my case, I filed a complaint with the Office of Special Counsel. They said, they looked into it. They said, yes, you did engage in protected activities. You did make protected disclosures. The second element they looked at was, were those the timing. So they knew that the Department of State had taken adverse action against me. And when they looked at the timing of those adverse actions, they were immediately after or at the same time as me engaging in those protected activities. But then there's a third element they look at, and that is, would the agency have taken the same actions, the same adverse actions, regardless of, irrespective of having, been a whistleblower. And in my case, the agency used a subjective excuse for their actions. They said that they were removing me from my position for loss of confidence, and there's no objective metric against which you can measure that to say whether it's true or not. And so the Office of Special Counsel declined to pursue the investigation. And I think what you need is the offices of Inspector General to be more independent from the agencies than they are now. And you also need a more robust Office of Special Counsel that actually, there has to be accountability both ways, right? Employees have to be able to be held accountable by their managers. But when you have managers who are engaging in retaliatory behavior against those employees, The Office of Special Counsel needs to step up their game and actually go in and hold not only the agencies, but the individual managers responsible for having stepped out of the bounds of their official duties and engaged in that retaliatory behavior. And I think that's the piece that is missing, is that there is no personal accountability against the managers, whether it's the people who are engaging in religious discrimination, wholesale against the federal employees and contractors, or in the wake of that, we're engaging in retaliation against those that stood up against the initial discrimination. In both cases, those managers, those leaders from the first line supervisor level up have to be held accountable. And if you don't have that personal accountability, you will never change the culture to where there is actually room for the kind of whistleblowing that our government needs in order for it to function.
Absolutely. I would say the lack of accountability that this country is seeing right now really is a national security risk. I mean, you basically have the intelligence community changing opinions based on, in the middle of the night, by one senior manager. How is that person not held accountable? How is the CIA not held accountable for literally undermining Congress and for undermining their boss, Tulsi Gabbard? It's absolutely incredible, and people's lives are in the balance when you come to opinions coming out of the intelligence realm. So this is a major national security issue that needs to be addressed. People have to be held accountable. Otherwise, we're not making it to America's 500-year anniversary.
That's our guests, Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton of Feds for Freedom. You can find the organization at fedsforfreedom.org. Stephanie and Marcus, is there anything else you'd like to promote? And especially, let's say I'm a listener out there who works in whatever federal office, and I've seen some stuff and I want to talk about it. I want to get involved. How can people get involved with Feds for Freedom?
If they want to engage in whistleblower activity, they need to go through the proper channels. What we don't want is for people to be sending us sensitive information directly. They need to work through those channels. But if they want to join an organization, a movement that supports them in those efforts, they should absolutely reach out to us, and we would love to talk with them.
And July 1st, we will be hosting an event at the Willard Hotel in DC titled National Security Beyond the Headlines, where we will be having panelists talking about the national security risks of food security, farming, health, the lack of accountability, the hold of the deep state, how all of these play into national security, and Washington needs to have its eyes on these other realms.
And that information on that event is at the website, fedsforfreedom.org, or where
yes,
can I find
it
that?
should be posted this week on the website. So stay tight and check back on the website very soon.
Okay, well, thank you both for making time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks for your efforts as well.
Thank you very much for having us.
Fed.
Stand back and stand by.
Thanks again to our guests, Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton at Feds for Freedom, fedsforfreedom.org for all things Feds for Freedom. It felt like January 6th to me. I point up here, there's a Fed, there's a Fed, there's a Fed.
I'm joining.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Now, in fairness to Stephanie, she is a Fed spouse, not technically a Fed.
Fed adjacent.
But that is, I would say that's the most Feds I've ever hung out with. But for all I know, like at this point, my entire family's Feds. Everybody I know is a Fed. I'm the only one on the outside looking in. So who knows? Anyway, it is nice to hear from, it's nice to know that not everybody in the federal workforce is completely insane. So I hope their organization is successful. You have any thoughts on that segment before we move on?
Well, there, as someone who is now in the federal government, there is, I don't want to say too much where I get myself in trouble, but there clearly are a ton of liberals within it, unfortunately. And I think I said this on a prior show, that Trump has shrunk the size of the federal workforce by, I think, 400,000 people. And I understand we're for shrinking government, but if we want to make a long-term investment, I don't think hiring like 50 to 100,000 people that you can screen for actually being very right wing, hiring those kind of people could pay dividends for many, many decades to come, and that it would prevent liberals from, making up those losses.
So we have to grant the premise of a massive federal workforce. We just need the right kind of feds. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying you want to decrease it on net balance, but there's, I would say if you
decrease
are going to
and replace. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you decrease it by 400,000, then hire like 50,000 really right wing people, you're still down 350,000, and then they can also then undo all the f-ups from the liberal people. This is all in theory and will never happen, so disregard everything I'm saying, but I feel like that could work.
I understand what you're saying, too, that some seats the seats themselves are necessary. Now, in the federal government, I think there are probably, I wouldn't be surprised if most of them are unnecessary, but some are necessary. It's kind of like on your school board or on your city council, there is a seat, and someone needs to sit in the seat and fold their arms and say, no. And that's really all you need, is just a guy brave enough and strong enough to say no. And with a lot of federal jobs, that could be the case. Like, you can't eliminate them outright, but if we had people who, not really the jobs themselves, people in the positions of leadership that would otherwise fill it with big government left-wing people, this is what I was asking about too. I mean, it makes sense that sort of ideology infects the workforce. Of course, you want the structure that gives you your paycheck to continue and to quote unquote succeed. Now, success in this arena is measured by ability to sustain. It's not measured by any actual performance. But if your paycheck depends on it, of course, like, you want to vote for ever expanding government. I
should probably rephrase the math in that I obviously want, even more cuts than the 400,000. It's just that I want to see mass eliminations and then replacements with people who are ideologically aligned with our agenda and all that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Speaking of federal jobs we actually need, someone has to deport Kilmar Abrego-Garcia. I don't care who it is. Someone deport him. Now, you can't because there's a judge's order against it. Yeah. But as my voice goes away, sorry about that, but bear with me. Recall the saga of famed illegal immigrant and suspected MS-13 member, Maryland Dad, you might know him, Kilmar Abrego-Garcia. Now, he was deported to that giant prison in El Salvador, which is where he's actually from. But then a judge ordered him back, and after resisting, the Trump administration brought him back to face human trafficking charges because in Tennessee in 2022, he actually was on video on police body cam. I won't play the sound here, but they pulled him over on a traffic stop, and he's got a modified truck full of like a dozen people who don't have ID and don't speak English. And he's saying, hey, man, I'm just working for my boss, bringing all these people to various construction sites that my boss, provides workers for.
The best was... So the best was when they had his ex-wife or wife on TV, and they're like, so is it true he used to beat you? And she just wouldn't answer their question. They're like, all right, we'll just avoid that question entirely and never address it again.
She answered that question in various police reports, so the answer is yes. Now, at the time, Tennessee State Police pulled Kilmar over. If you go and listen to the body cam, the Tennessee State Police officer correctly diagnoses it. Yeah, this guy's trafficking. He's got a truck full of people this is trafficking. They contact the feds. This is Biden era. And the feds did not care at all. And Kilmar Abrego-Garcia was not arrested by federal authorities. He was not federally charged. He was free to go allegedly beat his wife in the meantime. Well, now a federal judge in Tennessee has dismissed those human trafficking charges against Kilmar Abrego-Garcia. This judge, Waverly Crenshaw, who I assumed was a woman. Waverly is a guy's name? Yay. I've never met a guy named Waverly. To me, it sounded like Beverly, the woman's name. But Waverly Crenshaw is a black guy in Tennessee, and he's a federal judge. All right, learn something every day. Waverly Crenshaw says that this was a selective and vindictive prosecution that violated Kilmar Abrego-Garcia's due process rights because Kilmar had been fighting his deportation. Kilmar's lawyers had argued that these charges were just punishment for him exercising his constitutional rights, fighting that attempted deportation. And the judge agreed, writing in part that the objective evidence here shows that absent Abrego's successful lawsuit, challenging his removal to El Salvador, the government would not have brought this prosecution. Now, of course, the truth is the opposite. Kilmar was given a selective and vindictive free pass by the Biden administration. He was here illegally. He was caught trafficking illegal immigrants across the country, and Biden's DOJ said, so what? We don't care.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
So the judge's question of, well, why were these charges brought now? Because the last guy neglected them. That's why. That's why the charges were brought now. Now, of course, you'll be shocked to learn that this judge, Waverly Crenshaw, is something of a partisan Democrat, not just because he was appointed by Obama, but Mia Cathell at the Washington Examiner has looked through the federal donation records. He's given $43,000 to Democrat campaigns for federal office, which, in fairness, that dates back to 1994. That's still a big chunk of money. He gave like $6,000 to the Obama campaign in 2008.
Even if it was $20, it still shows your ideological intent. Like, it's, if I gave $100 to a campaign versus $1,000, my beliefs are identical regardless of the amount of money. So,
yeah, I think you could just say that you're very serious about it if you give a giant chunk, but it depends how much money you have. If you're very, very wealthy, then maybe $43,000 is $20 to you. I don't know. Yeah, right. But I should clarify, when I say he gave $6,000, you can't give $6,000 to the campaign itself.
It's
so,
like a super PAC kind of thing.
Yeah, $4,600 directly to his 2008 campaign. Isn't that beyond the legal limit, though?
Maybe they
anyway.
I don't know.
Well, whatever it is, he gave thousands of dollars to Obama or Obama-associated funds in 2008. Now, as far as what happens next with Mr. Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, unclear, because he had certain conditions of release for this criminal prosecution that, of course, no longer apply because the criminal prosecution is gone, because the judge says it was unconstitutional, because it was vindictive and selective and all that. So he doesn't have terms of release that apply to him living in Maryland right now, being a Maryland dad, but he's not off the hook for deportation either. The Trump administration has been trying to deport him to Africa, which I want to see Kilmar complete the circle of life and go live on Pride Rock. That has been my hope.
Do you remember his lawyers argued against deporting him to, I can't remember which African country, they're all the same to me, but I think it was Uganda, where they argued that he can't be deported there because he doesn't speak the local language, and the local language in the country was English.
I did not see that.
I think it was Uganda. I might be... I'm probably misremembering. It was an African country that's official language is English, and they were arguing he can't be deported there because he doesn't speak the language.
Well, he barely speaks it in that
official language now. Also, is English thanks to Trump. But
did he declare that? I didn't know that.
It was one of his first 50, I think, executive orders. I mean, it already was de facto prior to mass immigration, but
yeah. Well. I didn't know that about. We'll see if he can get by in some English-speaking African country. Maybe that is his destiny. Mm-hmm. But the Maryland judge overseeing the legal challenge to that deportation has blocked the deportation for now while that deportation case continues. He has raised the prospect for Kilmar Abrego-Garcia and his legal team of self-deporting since Kilmar doesn't want to go to Africa. So, hey, man, why don't you go back to El Salvador? The judge is even considering. My point is, he is not out of the deportation woods yet. So we still might see a deportation happen for Kilmar. I don't think they're just going to let him sit in Maryland and not object to that arrangement. So the saga of Kilmar has taken a setback, but I think it remains his deportation remains possible, if not likely. Now, of course, I have to discuss his biggest advocate in Congress / the Senate. The guy famous for taking a taxpayer-funded trip to El Salvador to visit Kilmar for margaritas that he didn't drink because it was all staged, margaritas by the pool, and you know that he didn't drink any because the salt or the sugar on the rim of his margarita was undisturbed. That is Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, and he posted a video on X in response to this news about the dismissal of the Kilmar trafficking case. And he says, it's not just big for my best friend Kilmar. This is big for everybody, because if they could go after Kilmar, well, guess what? You're next.
A federal judge just determined what we've really known all along, which is that the Trump administration's criminal case against Kilmar Abrego-Garcia was well trumped up. The judge said that it was a selective and vindictive prosecution. And the fact is the Trump administration brought this case against Kilmar Abrego-Garcia because he chose to exercise his constitutional due process rights. This case has never been about one man. It's never been about Kilmar Abrego-Garcia alone. It's been about all of our rights, because if you trample on his rights, you threaten all of our rights. So this was a good day, but the Trump administration will continue its vindictive efforts. Let's keep going.
Look at this fat.
Let's keep going. How? More illegal immigrants coming in and not getting deported? More people, trafficking illegals across. What is the let's keep going of this scenario?
I don't know. Also, Tim texted me. It was indeed Uganda.
Okay.
I'm surprised that even I was correct. Around 64% of the country, around 29 million people speak English, which I guess doesn't work for Kilmar, who, despite decades in America, somehow never learned the language.
How could he ever succeed?
Yep. Has anyone ever assimilated in the past 70 years? Like,
I don't know.
Here? I don't think so. The South African farmers seem to be assimilating. Besides them, it's no one.
Yeah, I forgot. I remember like 20 of them came, and it was all a big scandal. I forgot about that last year. Now, likewise, the truth here is the opposite. Oh, if they went after Kilmar, rule of law is dead. No, the fact that Kilmar is still here means the rule of law is on life support, if not dead. Not only has he been able to come here and live here for years, I forget when he exactly came. You might be right about decades. It's been a very long time. If you have no protection from foreign hordes from your federal government, which is the federal government this guy wants to establish and maintain, and that we had, of course, in recent years under the prior administration, then you have no protection. He talks about the risk to you. That is the risk to you. That is the danger. And maybe he does a lot of stuff for actual citizens of Maryland that he doesn't advertise as much. If only he worked for every citizen of Maryland as hard as he works for Kilmar Abrego-Garcia, posting videos about them immediately after they're supposedly vindicated in court, I would say that the voters in Maryland deserve better. But of course, they'll keep voting for him. They vote for him overwhelmingly. They'll vote for him again overwhelmingly, even though he spends his time and his money going to foreign countries to have staged margaritas presented to him at the pool on behalf of some illegal immigrant who came here to traffic other illegal immigrants across the country, beat his wife, and lie about being in danger of attacks from Guatemalan gangs in El Salvador because they don't like his mom's pupusa restaurant. Remember, that's the whole danger of him going back to El Salvador.
And El Salvador's murder rate now is significantly lower than America's. So they have like European level murder. It's one of the safest countries in the world. So that argument is totally moot. Well, and it's reminiscent of with Black Lives Matter, where with maybe one or two exceptions ever, the martyr or person they're standing up for always is a giant piece of shit. Like, it's not, if Kilmar Abrego-Garcia rescued children from a burning building 10 years ago, and it was like, listen, I know we want to enforce the immigration laws, but God bless this guy for doing X, Y, and Z, I would still deport him, but I would say, I would give him a first-class flight, extra leg room.
A handshake on his way out.
A handshake, great job, here's $5, send him off. But it's not that at all. It's a guy's garbage, probably a gang member and a domestic abuser, and this is who he's spending his time defending. So.
Well, even the people, the Kilmar defenders who believe he is sincerely at risk of Guatemalan gangs if he goes back home where he belongs, why is he at risk of Guatemalan gangs?
Of which there are none in El Salvador, by the way.
I don't know what the current gang rivalry situation is in El Salvador, but I'll take the premise. Could it be that he belongs to a rival gang and that's why he is so hated by these fearsome Guatemalan gangs? Or is it really just that his mom's pupusas, I have to be careful because you say that word wrong, it sounds dirty or something. His mom's pupusas are so delicious that the Guatemalan rival pupusa gangs will not tolerate it. That's why Kilmar Abrego-Garcia can't go back home. You are required to believe that.
If we lived in a sane world, this would destroy the narrative that Trump is a fascist, because if we can't deport this one guy, it does not exactly inspire confidence. In fact, I'm surprised. I know that the Trump deportation numbers are lagging what they had wanted them to be, but you'd think they'd be even lower given how we can't get rid of this one guy. I mean, I guess the counterfactual is at least no one's entering the country, but I don't know. It's not great. I wish
turn the faucet off, plug the holes in the boat, but you still got to take the buckets of water, and hurl the water overboard.
I mean, ideally, someone would make an example out of him in Minecraft to kind of send a message of like, no, you have to go eventually, but that's not going to happen.
You ready for some hoax hate?
Oh yeah.
All right.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Well, there was a very bizarre murder of a transgender student near the University of Washington campus in Seattle earlier this month. And it's not a hoax in the sense that the murder is very real. All right. It actually happened on video, is my understanding. So there's nothing hoaxed about the killing, about the murder. It appears to be misidentified in speculation as a hate crime. Investigators currently do not believe there was any hate or anti-transgender motive in this case. When I hear about transgender murders, as you know, Matt, I often wonder about the sexual deception that often happens in these cases transgender people engage in, commonly known as the fraudulent blowy. A transgender person deceives someone on a dating app, they meet up, activities late at night in the dark happen until someone realizes that's not what I signed up for, and a beating ensues, sometimes fatally. This one appears to be none of those things. Investigators are saying it was just a random murder, though as I'll get to, there are some pieces to question about what maybe explains this killing.
Well,
but go ahead.
The killer himself referred to this guy as a woman. So someone joked, and I guess it's not even a joke, that it's the first gender-affirming murder.
I didn't even see that part of it. So
yeah. He used female pronouns when referring to him. So he either is on board with the trans stuff or actually thought it was a woman. I don't know how you could think that, but
I'll explain what I think happened here, but it is a bizarre case. So I'll start with the killing itself. This is May 10th. This transgender student called Juniper Blessing, a male to female transgender person, doing laundry in the laundry room of the Nordheim Court apartment complex. Again, this is right off campus at the University of Washington in Seattle. And in the laundry room, he was then stabbed by this other guy some 40 times. So an absolutely horrific, brutal stabbing, died at the scene. Another resident at the apartment complex discovered this person, called 911. Juniper Blessing died. There was no hope for Juniper Blessing after the stabbing. So in response, many students and others in the area concluded, well, this must have been an anti-transgender hate crime.
Police have identified the victim as a transgender woman, and another resident said she worries it could have been a hate crime.
This place felt kind of safe for like off-campus housing.
Many students tell Como tonight they're still left wondering what the suspect's motive was and if Juniper Blessing was targeted because they were transgender.
I came here to support the trans community.
Was it a hate crime because we know the person was trans? And so that's even scarier for the trans community on campus.
And especially for, queer folks like us, like Juniper, that you're not alone in this.
What the university is going to do to make sure that people feel safe being here, especially trans students.
Okay, so police recovered surveillance video from the laundry room, which is the scene of the murder. Apparently captured the murder itself. At least I read that. I couldn't find the source when I went back to capture it, but I read that they have video of the murder itself. The murder video is not public. Police did release images of the suspect through this surveillance video. The suspect at the time of the release of that video was unknown. And after the images were released, the suspect turned himself in. This guy you see on screen here, he's 31-year-old Christopher Leahy. And he is now charged with first-degree murder, held on $10 million bail. Now, when you say he used the female pronouns, that's not something I'd seen. Did he say that in court, or what was the context that he used the female pronouns?
I saw someone was sharing a screenshot of a quote from him, so I can't remember the exact context, but he's gender-affirming, which is
all right.
A real redeeming quality,
On Monday, police released video from the laundry room moments before the murder, which show this suspect, Christopher Leahy, apparently following another woman into the laundry room about 15 minutes before he kills Juniper Blessing. He's moving in and out of this laundry room. Then a neighbor also provided some surveillance video from his or her house. I don't know who the neighbor is, but the suspect was trying to enter this home, and the homeowner or the resident told him to go away.
New video obtained by Fox 13 News shows 31-year-old murder suspect Christopher Leahy on May 5th. Investigators say he's trying to get into a house near 21st Avenue Northeast and Northeast Ravenna Boulevard. Beth Mountseer lives nearby and has heard all about it.
We now know he was in this area, which makes sense to me since he had been at University Prep.
That school is a little more than a mile and a half away. She says Leahy went to several neighbors' yards, and the person who lived at this home told him to leave over a loudspeaker. 5 days later, Leahy is spotted again about a third of a mile from that house, this time at the Nordheim Court Apartments in the laundry room. He leaves, and the video picks up about 15 minutes later. When Leahy returns, 19-year-old student Juniper Blessing is inside doing laundry alongside another neighbor unaware of the threat. You can see Leahy checking out the camera, which would eventually be unplugged. He goes in and out of the room mere minutes before prosecutors say he stabbed Blessing more than 40 times.
So apparently he unplugged the camera, but I read somewhere that police recovered video through some kind of backup on the system. So he observed the camera, unplugged it, trying to cover his tracks, presumably, then stabbed Juniper Blessing some 40 times. And at this point, police have identified no connection between this, apparently confessed or turned himself in. I guess he hasn't made a plea yet, so he's not technically confessed. But the guy who turned himself in, Christopher Leahy, the guy who's on the video, no connection between him and Juniper Blessing. They're considering the murder a random attack, but police do say that earlier that night, and I assume this is the other woman who appears in the video, this guy Leahy was stalking another student across the apartment complex. Now, they don't identify this person, but I'm assuming it's the person in the video. I'm assuming that's another young woman following that person into the same laundry room, again, 15 minutes before the killing. So my question is, was what happened with Juniper Blessing, was that mistaken identity? Did he attack the wrong person? Was he just stalking women in general? And whoops, having to pick a tranny. Okay. This seems like the Kohberger situation at the University of Idaho, although Kohberger, of course, appeared to be stalking those victims as well, had prior connections to those girls, or at least had encounters with them. We don't know if that's the case here, but I wonder if this was just like, this guy is doing a Kohberger style stalk and accidentally attacked the wrong person, or did Juniper see him do something with the person he was stalking, and so Juniper had to die for that reason? It would seem that the stalking has to be related. It's not just like I saw a person and went crazy and stabbed.
I mean, I think we might just be overthinking it, and that it's I mean, there's really no way to say it without sounding racist, but, well, how do I tone this down? This is not an uncommon occurrence in this country that this sort of thing happens for no reason.
You might get stabbed at a laundromat?
By a certain group of people for no reason. Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, I'm sorry, like, I'm not trying to insult the dead here, but why is every trans name like a stripper name? It's never like, you know what? I'm Sarah now.
Why can't you just be Lauren? There are so many.
In my
They're
college,
perfectly fine.
In my college, some girl trooned out. Her name was Sarah. She became non-binary and changed her name to Astra.
I can't reveal the context in which I've heard that name recently, but I've also heard that name recently.
Why? What the fuck?
That's but it's also in the context of transgenderism too.
Yeah, there's like 5 actual trans names, and there's just derivatives of those 5.
I've seen a lot of what's the one? Luna. Luna's a very popular.
I've seen
pick.
that one.
A lot of Lunas.
Yeah, it's never normal.
Anyway, get a load of this though. If you are the guy who has to defend Christopher Leahy, who's, as far as I understand, on camera committing this murder, and if you're not going to confess or plead guilty, you're going to actually fight these charges, good luck, man. But whoever's defending him in the Seattle court system apparently has the right idea, and by that I mean the idea most likely to succeed for this particular client, you're not going to get him successfully acquitted. What you're going to do is say that he's crazy and therefore unfit for trial, which has worked in other Seattle criminal contexts, including the guy who shot that pregnant woman dead a couple years ago and was deemed unfit for trial or incompetent to stand trial or insane or whatever it was. So this week, we also learned that Leahy's lawyers, he was supposed to be arraigned on Thursday morning. Defense team delayed that hearing in court because they need time to assess his mental health competency.
Now, Leahy was supposed to be in court today for an arraignment hearing. That was continued to June 4th as his defense team is basically asked to assess his mental health and his competency.
So they're doing the Seattle classic, claim insanity or incompetence to stand trial. You can't put that man on trial. He's too crazy. He needs mental health help. He goes to the mental health facility. All right, he is certified not crazy anymore. Off you go. And he does it again. And your point about the frequency of laundry room murders is demonstrated to be correct.
Tim, fact check. That wasn't a woman. That was the guitarist from Queen.
Wait, what?
You know what Brian May looks like?
Yeah, that rings a bell. Should I look it up?
It's the greatest band of all time, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
But back to the story, the fact that insanity is not an aggravating factor is itself insane. Like, if your legal defense is, I'm so crazy I can't be trusted in public without murdering people, that for some reason the court system then goes, oh, okay, off you go. It's the weirdest thing.
As long as you are deemed not crazy by a qualified mental health professional
who is probably
doctor.
ideologically captured, yeah.
Right. Okay, in Easthampton, Massachusetts, this is north of Springfield in central Massachusetts, an unidentified person drew swastikas in chalk on the playground at Mountain View Elementary School. But no, you can't see it. In fact, there are no images of it because school staff erased the swastikas before they reported them to police, so even police investigators have not seen them. And now the temporary existence of chalk swastikas that nobody even saw means that all the parents of elementary school students need to teach their very young kids about Hitler and Nazi hate.
An Easthampton elementary school addressing families this week after a swastika was found on a playground. Mountain View school families received a letter from the district Wednesday condemning the symbols, calling them hate-based and anti-Semitic.
Easthampton police tell Western Mass News officials were called after the chalk drawings had already been removed by school staff, meaning investigators never saw the symbol firsthand. Police also telling us there are no cameras or witnesses in the area, so they don't have any further leads. Police say they do not know who was responsible or even when the drawings were made, whether it was overnight or the morning of or during school. It's still unknown. One Easthampton resident sharing their frustration with Western Mass News.
I think it's definitely something that if it comes up, parents should definitely educate their kids about it. I mean, they should know not to keep doing that. Not everything is appropriate for kids to be doing, and parents can tell them that, and that's okay. It's the same as not touching a hot stove.
This isn't the first time a swastika is found in or near a school here in Western Mass.
Heard of a few instances at local schools of the use of slurs before, and some similar incidents, but it's shocking every time it happens.
Now, the district is also asking parents to educate their children about things like this, including bias, and they even included some links in that letter that they emailed out to parents to help them educate their children.
It never happened. It's a made-up
kids.
It's a total fabrication.
Hey kids, let me tell you about holding people off to death camps and gassing them. That's going to be great for a third grader.
It's very important that you understand that seeing this shape is exactly the same as touching a hot stove in terms of its danger to you. But yes, to your point, even if this did happen, even if little Joey, the third grader, drew a swastika shape, even if Hitler Youth himself showed up, or Hitler Youth themselves did this with hateful intent, how is the proper response to teach elementary school kids about Hitler and the Nazis and World War II Germany and all of this, instead of just say, How about we just wash that chalk off, and you kids can go, hear appropriate stories.
Wait till 8th grade for this, or whenever you learn it. But
now I looked for the links that the parents are supposed to use to educate their kids, as you heard referenced in that story that were sent out to parents by email. All the links to learn about Hitler, couldn't find them because I wanted to see. I figured my 4.5-year-old could probably use some of those lessons, so I wanted to borrow them and see if they were appropriate to make sure he learns about Adolf Hitler. I assume the materials were provided by the SPLC, the same people who drew the swastika, but I could not find confirmation of that. But here's what I did find. There's a former city councilor who the news consulted about this story, and he clearly has an agenda about getting more of his preferred message into the school.
According to former Easthampton City Councilor Owen Zarrett, this is at least the 7th anti-Semitic incident in the last few years.
They've done a great job this last month for Jewish American Heritage Month, and I think they did a good job with explaining what happened in this incident, but this is piled on top of some history that I think needs to be a little bit more transparent.
He believes students need to learn earlier what the symbol actually means.
So I'd be investigating Owen to see if he maybe did some chalkings in pursuit of his own agenda to get more anti-Hitler education into the elementary schools in Easthampton, Massachusetts.
Not to be cynical, but 7 anti-Semitic incidents, assuming they're of this nature where no one gets hurt or anything, it's just hurt feelings over a few years, which is obviously thousands of days, does not sound like a lot at all. It seems like it's just a passing thing you barely even notice.
I did not do a full accounting of what these incidents are. Or do we have swastika chalkings?
Well, if there was if there was a hate crime where a Jew in that town was I don't know, punched on the street, he would have mentioned it. So
I assume
it's probably an angry phone call, that kind of thing.
Well, this last one is not a hoax. These are actual Germans paying tribute to Hitler, okay? And some would say they even understand the point that these Germans were making.
Adolf was not there. Sorry, go ahead.
We know it's legit because the swastika is correctly drawn. All right, and because they're on video doing it. In Florida, all cities have been directed by the governor and the state legislature to remove any and all rainbow crosswalks. Those are done now. So some cities, like Miami Beach, have responded with other installations to honor homosexuality.
I want some facts!
In Miami Beach, the city has a rainbow bench and rainbow sidewalk pavers beside it. Technically not a crosswalk, but still a rainbow display, technically legal. So this week, 2 German tourists were arrested after they were caught on camera writing, as you see on your screen, Adolf was here, with a swastika on this precious rainbow bench.
City of Miami Beach cameras caught the act in real time. This exclusive video shows 4 men walk towards the LGBTQIA bench, 2 of them soon sitting down, one seen drawing something on the seat. Police believe they left behind this anti-Semitic symbol of hate. A swastika with the words Adolf was here next to it. Those cameras crucial for Miami Beach police, whose real-time intelligence center was able to use the footage to track down and detain the men at 7th and Ocean. The bench installed along with the rainbow pavers at Loomis Park after the state ordered rainbow crosswalks be removed across Florida.
When people do things like this, they want people to be fearful. We are not. We are not fearful of anything. We will stand up against any type of hatred.
Now, you can bet, unlike Kilmar, well, I don't know, maybe Trump will be merciful toward them. Who knows? If this was Biden, those guys would be kicked out of the country faster than any illegal immigrant, even though they're here. As far as I know, they're here as legal tourists. I don't think there's anything illegal about the presence of these Germans. But how quickly you think they get kicked out under the prior administration for drawing a swastika on a rainbow bench?
How do you enforce those fines, by the way?
Or just,
you can.
And it might not just be fines. They might get them on felony charges, which is unbelievable.
Oh my God, shit.
Upon interview, the guy who did the writing, his name is Christoph Rehak, again, German national, says he did it as a joke, obviously.
Of course.
Both men are charged with first-degree misdemeanors for criminal mischief for damages between $200 and $1,000, which itself I find baffling because I'm pretty sure you could wipe that off unless it's the super durable kind of Sharpie that never comes. If it's just a wipe that off. The rest of the video I cut for time, but they sent crews to remove the entire bench. They're going to take it to a warehouse to, I guess, repaint it or something. It's like a tiny piece of writing.
The whole
in Sharpie.
thing is now tainted now that one part
I guess.
has
They might rebuild it. Yeah, they're going to melt it down and rebuild it back. I don't know. So how that kind of damage is estimated to be hundreds of dollars, no idea. Prosecutors may upgrade the charges to third-degree felonies because Florida's hate crime statute allows for that harsher penalty if there's a hate motive. Now, the kicker in the law is that there has to be a target based on race, color, ancestry, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, national origin, homeless status, or advanced age of the victim. But this was public property. So who was the target in that way if it's public property? That's a legal question. Now, this is where it gets even more ridiculous. This is a matter for commentary and the intervention of a representative from the German consulate. The Christopher Berger, the consul general of Germany based in Miami, he's throwing his fellow Germans under the bus. All right. He said, not only, so the law says you can't discriminate based on national origin. He's saying, yes, discriminate based on national origin. We Germans deserve it because, quote, as a nation, we bear responsibility for the worst crime in human history, the Holocaust.
Stop being such a pussy.
So yes, please punish us Germans even more harshly than if someone non-German, if a black guy or some other racial minority had done it. He might not be deserving of the same harsh penalty. Lastly, I appreciate this reporter's contribution to the soundboard.
Adolf was here.
Anytime I see a swastika.
Adolf was here.
Well, we know this one's real because it was actually done correctly, among other factors, but there actually was a real hate crime last week where
Get that mic pointed a little bit more at you.
Sorry,
point it up like that, yeah.
There was two Hispanic neo-Nazis shot up a mosque, and the swastika they painted on their gun was backwards. So they were...
Yeah. We talked about that on Wednesday.
Yeah, you covered it on Wednesday. Did you cover the angle or the fact that the black security guard they killed had posted pro-Hitler stuff on social media?
It was Hitler on Hitler violence, yeah.
So our demographics are so effed that we have Hispanic Nazis killing black Nazis. That's where we're at in this country.
Yeah, or like, I don't know.
Sympathizers.
Yeah, whatever he was.
Whatever he was. Not good.
Lastly, this case is interesting from just a technology perspective. You heard in the story there that they tracked these Germans down because they caught them on the surveillance video, and then they used some kind of surveillance tech to track them in real time and find them a couple hours later down the street. So not only can they see everything that you're doing through these cameras, there's some kind of technology to track your movement across the city, which is great for solving real crimes. Like if they had shot someone on the street, a little more concerning, a little more ominous when they track down who drew the wrong shape in marker, not very far from, tracking down who had the wrong thoughts or the wrong opinions, that sort of thing. But
the surveillance tech is getting insane. Like and this isn't crime related, but I went to a casino maybe 2 years ago, and I didn't know this, but they have surveillance that's scanning everyone's face as you go in and where you're walking around. So when I sat down at the table, the guy addressed me he looks on the computer and then addresses me by name. And it was just creepy as hell that they have tech that can do that.
I don't even understand. Explain it to me. How did
so
you know
I had
I
had been to the casino before, so I had a player's card. So I guess I'm in some sort of database there. But just me sitting down at the table, it scanned my face, I guess, and he had a computer in front of him, and he goes, "Oh, hey, welcome back, Matt." And I never saw the guy in my life before. Yeah,
and you're supposed to think, "Wow, they're so friendly around here. They remember my name."
And at Madison Square Garden, this thing keeps happening where lawyers that have sued Madison Square Garden before or been part of companies that have sued them are getting turned away at the entrance because they scan LinkedIn profiles of anyone from those firms and then cross-reference them as the people are walking in and flag them. So that's how sophisticated this stuff is getting. So no one is a private citizen anymore.
If you want to live in a country where you might get away with drawing a swastika on a rainbow bench,
not here anymore.
those days Those days are long gone. We used to be a proper country, not anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Let's catch up on Super Chat, and we will call it a night. So I got to do a refresh over on YouTube and Tippy. Over on Rumble, Great Negro 2021. Regarding JP with the info presented, this looks opportunistic, wrong place, wrong time. Who was JP, though?
Juniper, what was the last name? No,
that was Juniper Blessing.
That was
Who's JP? I'm afraid I missed the reference here.
I'm dumb.
This looks opportunistic, wrong place, wrong time. Who was with the info presented, though? I'm going to think about this and come back to it. Tim, if you're listening, if you know what this reference is, let me know. Sorry, I'm missing the reference, Negro, but thanks for supporting the show. And that's knee grow, as in your lower leg joint is expanding, or your mid leg joint is expanding, not a commentary on race. Knee grow. All right, you got YouTube.
Yeah, Easthampton Unbound. It was clear that Fauci is a lying piece of the S word when he claimed
that got through YouTube. I'm
no,
surprised.
he censored it himself.
Oh,
I mean, it could have been a different S word for all we know, but I'm assuming it's SHIT. When he claimed medical expertise in spite of being in the same federal government management position for 30 years, that takes a degree of political expertise, allowing room for no other. Yeah, and he made up a ton of stuff. I mean, I think they brought this up in the interview, that the whole conventional wisdom about how we all need to stand 6 feet apart was something he even admitted he has no idea how that spawned and just thought it sounded about right. So, not very much following the science there.
Thank you, Esoterica. Taker610, have you guys ever heard a humanist or atheist argue that revenge or vigilantism, is it vigilantism or vigilantism?
I say vigilantism, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Have you heard them argue that it could be morally right? The Christian God says revenge is his and to forgive all. So what would the opposite take be? Well, I don't know. I guess I haven't considered arguments about vigilantism in the context of religious faith or not. To me, to be a justified vigilante, there must be some moral authority that you are pursuing. If the government itself is the moral authority, I don't think there is a such thing as a justified vigilante, because the government determines the moral rules, the government enforces the moral rules. Anybody who operates outside of them is by definition morally incorrect because of where that morality originates with the government itself. So it seems to me that to believe there is a such thing as a justified vigilante, which I believe there is, there must be a higher moral authority. We would commonly consider that to be God. So I'm trying to think of what an argument in favor, I guess you could, to your point, like if you believe there is an objective morality outside of the government and outside of God, then that's what you're appealing to as a vigilante. It's just, I find that argument to be a pretty difficult one to make. Now, from the Christian perspective or the perspective of religious faith, now I'm not disputing your point that God says revenge is his. Of course, ultimate justice is God's. But I don't believe that that means that our pursuit of it is morally wrong, morally incorrect. I think all of us have an obligation to pursue God's justice, to pursue the rules of that moral authority. And if the government neglects that duty, then it becomes the duty of private citizens, who in this context would be called vigilantes, to see to it that God's justice is pursued and achieved. I don't think it's the correct understanding of God as moral authority to say, well, who am I to say God will sort it out in the end? I don't think God's intent, God's plan for all of us is to sit back, watch people get murdered, abused, stolen from, violated in any number of ways and say, who am I to say? No, you are here according to God's rules and God's purposes. You do have an obligation to not just to operate according to them, but to see to it that those who violate those rules have the rules enforced on them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm trying to flesh out what those arguments would be on the spot without having thought about them very thoroughly. Matt, you have any thoughts on those topics?
I'm pro-vigilantism in theory. I just don't recommend it because for some reason, the people you're a vigilante against don't face legal consequences for their actual crimes, but you, the vigilante, do for some effed up reason.
This
so
is total,
I don't recommend it.
This is a practical argument, not moral, morality argument at all. Yeah.
I'll read this one from producer Tim's. It's addressed to me. To push back on Matt P's point, that's me. This was an internal audit by the DNC. If they won't be honest with themselves, that they could.
By the way, when you're reading this, you're disappearing off the mic too. You got to get that mic in front of your face. There you go.
So
that's too much.
I'll start from the beginning again. To push back on Matt P's point, this was an internal audit by the DNC. If they won't be honest with themselves that they couldn't, for example, quote-unquote, find votes days after 2024, they can't honestly analyze what they have to do in future elections. I don't think that's disagreeing with me very much at all. I don't disagree, so I don't know. I don't interpret it as pushback. Good comment, anyway.
I don't think so, Tim.
All right. K-Dog Mulligan, happy long weekend, gang. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you and yours, K-Dog Mulligan. Thanks for supporting the show. Esoterica Unbound. Van Hollen doesn't do squat for me. Oh, sorry, I'm in the old mode. You got Esoterica Unbound.
Van Hollen doesn't do squat for Maryland. The state has 2 Democrats for every 1 Republican. A syphilis bacterium could be elected to be U.S. Senator from here if it had a D after its name. And that is the reality of politics, is the letter after your name matters more than anything else. I mean, it's why independents pretty much never get elected in this country, regardless of who they are. So,
what was the joke about Steve Cohen last week? He brought the D. He has the D.
Something like that.
All he needs is the D.
I said something unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it matter? Can't claim insanity when it's proven that he tried to unplug the camera. That's true. There was a demonstrated level of competence and forethought there. You're right. That demonstrates mens rea. He had the mind for the crime. He knew better. I don't dispute that your claims of fact or analysis there at all. Doesn't matter. The only pushback I would have is, have we seen the depths of the Seattle court system to to allow such things? The pregnant woman shooting guy. Now, I'm trying to think. I don't know that he did anything on the level of the camera unplugging. You're right. So maybe those cases are a little bit different, but we'll see where this one in Seattle goes. If I was the guy assigned, I assume they're public defenders. I don't know. I don't know what what these lawyers are, but assuming they're public defenders, if I'm the guy who's assigned to defend this guy, that's the first thing I'm doing too. Well, got to claim insane. Got to claim incompetent. Let's figure it out.
Is Injured Guardian the only one left, or did you read that one? The Donde 2K?
Did we miss Donde? No.
I didn't. Injured Guardian says Donde 2000 or 2K makes a good point, quoting him. What if the German tourist is a Buddhist named Adolf? Alternatively, maybe he's a devoted Adidas fan. We have no response to that then.
There are different explanations that could possibly explain that situation.
Adolf.
Although I will say, in pushing back, I don't think anyone has been named Adolf in about 80 years. Someone even posted the Google Trends thing where you can look at how commonly a name is awarded every year. And in World War II, the name Adolf just tanks to 0 and it's never seen again.
Although there's that one guy in Africa who's a politician whose name is actually
Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
No relation.
We went 1 or 2 ahead because I've got one back from Injured Guardian. After Does It Matter? Matt, I'm not saying that Jim is partisan. I don't think he is, quoting me. Is Jim
Halberd?
Glaive? Is Jim Halberd? I don't know. I'm sure this joke is a good one. Once again, over my head. You've outsmarted me, Injured Guardian. I was talking about the whistleblower Jim, of course, saying that I don't think he's like this partisan activist. I think he's trying to do the right thing for what was meddling in the intel agencies. But I don't understand these what is that word? It looks like naive with a GL. Glaive. Or actually, I don't even know. Is Jim?
There's a musician named Glaive. I don't think that was the reference, but...
Is there a guy named Jim Partisan?
And it's also a type of pole weapon. So that's our 2 leads we got. I'm sorry, we're a little slow here,
dude. I don't have a good super chat reading record tonight.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh, and Tim also wanted me, he said in the chat, to check my phone. He was saying his theory on the Juniper case was just wrong place, wrong time, which I think is, I think this was just some schizo or otherwise.
Could be.
Very violent person.
Thank you, Injured Guardian. I'm sorry I butchered your joke. I'm sure it's a great joke. You read the second one from him. We had another thought from Tim. You got that one?
Just a moment. Firstly, testifying on your behalf aside, you literally sit there and listen to B argue for and against you guilt. All right, let's try this one again. I'm reading this word for word. I'm not trying to diss you, Tim, and your spelling. But firstly, testifying on your behalf aside, you literally sit there and listen to lawyers argue for and against your guilt. How could you be incompetent for that? Also, disconnecting the camera clearly shows a clarity of mind that could be hard to argue against. Yes, true.
I don't think so, Tim.
What's that from?
You don't know?
No.
Really? Sorry. I'm just making fun of Tim's confusing spelling there.
He's texting me as we speak. Let's see.
You don't know the show Home Improvement?
Oh, yes, I do. I just don't know that.
That was Al Borland. Richard Karn as Al Borland. Every time Tim the Toolman Taylor had some crazy idea, he would dispute it, or he would refuse, and he would just say,
I don't think so, Tim.
Yeah, I missed. It's like a movie reference for me.
90s sitcoms, man, they were the best. I think we're all set. Anything else before we're looks like we're good.
Let's see. And Tim's texting me. If I get it in the next 10 seconds, I'll read whatever he says. But no, I don't see anything else. Check Rumble.
All right, we will call it there.
We're good.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to the highly regarded Matt Palumbo. Find his X account and his latest book on Alex Soros linked in the description. Thanks to our guests, Feds for Freedom, Stephanie Weidle and Marcus Thornton. Find Feds for Freedom at fedsforfreedom.org. That's linked in the description for you as well. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance. No thanks to his spelling in the super chat, but we appreciate him nonetheless.
I talk not good times often.
All right.
Sauce.
Find everything show-related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. Join the MC Club if you enjoyed the show. Plenty of supporter perks for you there. And you help keep the duct tape production in operation. I'm live on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Have a great night and a great week and a happy Memorial Day.